When it comes to alcohol consumption, I personally have never been a big beer drinker, but I've been always deeply fascinated with beer culture as a whole. And one aspect of said culture that I really, really adored was the community aspect of it all. I mean, when I'm involved and throw myself into these environments from time to time, I've never met more loving, caring, and friendly individuals. And I've always, because of this, wanted to interview a brewery owner because I want to learn about the back end all the way to the front end of the industry and get a small education on hops and things of that nature and the brewing process as a whole. And luckily for me, I grew up with a brewery owner. Well, when I met him, he wasn't a brewery owner, but now he is. And we are coming up on the 3-year anniversary of Autodidact Brewery. So on this week's episode of the Sauce Talk podcast, you're all going to meet one half of Autodidact Brewery. So without further ado, please welcome my wonderful guest, Ron Cassel. You're now listening to the Sauce Talk podcast. What up, everybody? It's your boy Al Siggity Sauce. Welcome back to the Sauce Talk podcast. Today I have one half of Autodidact Brewery in Morris Plains, New fucking Jersey, Ron Cassel. What's up, baby? How are you?
How you doing, man? Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, I first of all, I can't believe what you've built around this brand. And I was so out of the loop. I mean, you have the 3rd year anniversary coming up next week. Mm-hmm. Our episode will drop the week after.
Yep.
But just like when I discovered your brewery, and I was a little late on it, a couple of years, but I couldn't believe what you've built. And we have so much to catch up on. I haven't seen you in fucking prior to me seeing you last month for the first time at your brewery, which was an amazing experience. I'll touch into that in a little bit. But you know, I need to catch up. I haven't seen you since fucking high school. So much has happened between here and the brewery. So I'd like to first dive into where we've been, you know, and where you've been since high school. So right after high school, what were you into? What happened after that?
That's a perfect way to start this, I guess, right? So after high school, I got heavy into music. I played drums all throughout high school. I was in the marching band and all the music groups inside the school. And after high school, I started playing drums in different bands. I actually met the other owner of Autodidact, who's also named Ron, through bands at that time. And we became friends pretty much just based off the fact that we were both named Ron. And at that point in our lives, it was like, both of our dads is named Ron, and we were named Ron, and
which is insane. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, the 4 of us built out the whole brewery together because my dad's a general contractor and his dad's a plumber. Wow. So everybody working in that place was named Ron when we were building it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we became friends at that point, based solely off the fact that we never met anyone else named Ron, and just started being friends there. Went our separate ways for quite a while, played music for a while, got out of that, worked for, just random office jobs. I focused on graphic design and like user interface design. So I did a lot of work with that for years.
Oh, really? I'm actually interested in that. Well,
okay.
Well, first of all, what school did you go to for this field, or was it you self-taught?
I'm mostly self-taught. So I did some graphic design classes when we were in high school.
Mrs. Schreiber.
Miss Schreiber, and then Mrs. Sepsi, I think.
Oh my God.
Miss Schreiber got let go.
I haven't heard that name in years.
I might not have had anything to do with that. Let's not go there.
I really want to, but it's okay. We won't.
Yeah, so I did graphic design in high school, and then I went to County College Morris. That's it. I only have an associate's degree. Most of what I know, and in the degree that I have from CCM is a business degree. So most of what I knew in the graphic design world was just self-taught, just wanting to do it.
Oh wow. What was your first job out of school in that field?
I worked for a small company in East Hanover where I just did a bunch of their marketing materials. They were a telecommunications company, and I was just doing brochures and like business cards and kind of updating their website and Facebook a little bit. It was nothing glamorous about it at all. And then from there, moved on to a ad agency, which I wanted to do because I watched Mad Men, and I thought that an ad agency would be sick. And it turns out, full disclosure, it wasn't. It was fine. I mean, everybody there was super nice. They ended up building they built this, you see them kind of everywhere now, but like those giant monolith touchscreens that you see in like malls or at like a stadium that'll like help you get around the stadium or just like show advertisements or whatever on them. They built one of the first ones of those. And in the process of trying to like make a business out of that, they brought me on board to do sort of like half sales and half helping with the user interface design of this platform.
Oh, wow.
Because everybody that was working on it was just software developers. And they were all great, but software developers are notoriously not in tune with user interface design. Their whole job is just make it work. And then like a user interface designer comes in and goes like, okay, now we need to make it feel nice for somebody to use this thing. So they were not, they weren't in tune with that part. They brought me in to kind of help with that and then just get out there in front of potential customers and make sales. So I worked with the business developer. We flew out to the Pro Football Hall of Fame out in Ohio. We went to the New Jersey Devils. We brought all of them on board, like they were into it.
Wow. And
then abruptly out of nowhere one day, the owner just cut the company loose.
Really? Just out of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, I'm sure there was some financial implications there. Maybe I'm not sure, but it wasn't working out. And they were ready to just like, all right, we're going to wrap this up.
Oh man.
Felt annoying because it was like, felt like we were just getting somewhere with it. And they just,
you were just getting geared up, just getting started, doing something innovative and new and refreshing.
Yeah.
And then
it just took the wind out of our sails a bit. So from there, it's kind of bounced around between a few things and then ended up here.
Wow. That's crazy. Now, I know that obviously your graphic design skills transferred onto what you do today, but I want to hold off on that a bit. Mm-hmm. Besides what you do for the brewery, are you still personally freelance and active within the graphic design space for other avenues and other companies or no?
On paper, I would say yes, but realistically, I don't have the time to do anything. Like it's all in all the time.
Yeah.
At Autodidact, and then I'm also married with 2 kids. So
God bless. So since you have a background in graphic design, I got a question out of curiosity. What is your personal opinion on AI and its significant effect on the graphic design industry as a whole? And where do you see things going for people that were in your profession or are still in your profession moving into the future?
That's a great question. AI is a limited force, or at least right now, it's very limited.
Right.
I actually used it for something the other day. I wanted to come up with a quick icon for something. And I was just like, I don't have the time to sit down and like start drawing this out. So I was like, let me try and use AI and see what I can come up with. And the first limiting factor with it right now is just your ability to provide enough context that the AI can build exactly what you're looking for. So there's almost a skill set in that, your ability to just
100%
to just prompt it correctly. Then from there, I kind of did a bunch of iterations with just rewording my own prompt. And through all of those iterations, I still kind of just got like, it's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it's fine, I guess.
Yeah.
I was building an iOS app so that our staff could close out the cash drawer at the end of the night
Okay.
more easily.
Huh.
It would just basically do the math for you. Like, here's how many bills I have in there. Take these bills out, leave those bills in the drawer for the next day. Stupid, simple app. I actually had AI write the code for the app because I don't know how to write code. And that worked great. But I was like, hey, can you make an app icon for me? And it was like, nah, this kind of sucks. So I made my own. So as it goes on, AI will certainly become better at making this stuff work. But if you're a graphic designer who's been around in the industry for any amount of time, you know that, like, when you went to school for it, they taught you about drawing typography at stationary at a desk, like physically drawing every letter. You know, like Helvetica, the font was made by hand on a desk.
Really? I didn't know that.
Like,
I'm assuming most of them did, but...
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, all the old font foundries, that's what you did. You drew every single letter at a desk. And so, yeah, like Helvetica, all the fonts that are like big name that fonts started there. Nowadays, you can make a font just on your computer in an afternoon. So if you expect that the industry was just going to stop there and that, like, your job would be safe forever, that's kind of crazy talk. It's going to keep evolving. It's going to keep getting better. We are not drawing our fonts or doing our graphic design at a desk anymore, like on a physical, drawing it with a T-square and everything on a desk. We're now making it on a computer.
Right.
And Photoshop and Illustrator and all those programs that you use for graphic design have gotten more and more capable, and with every like iteration of their capability have become, it's made your workload less. Like, I could just type this and it automatically generates that thing for me. So it's like AI is just the next step in that. There will, for the foreseeable future, I feel like there's always going to be a human there.
I agree.
To steer the ship.
I agree.
And of course, anybody that's like, if that's your job and you're making money in that field, you're of course going to feel threatened by that. And you're right for doing so. But complaining about it is not going to get you anywhere, because it's going to happen whether you complain about it or not.
Right. It's inevitable. You can't stop it.
So you need to figure out how to adapt and make whatever this is work for you rather than against you.
Right. That's the sad truth, I think, within a lot of industries in this world today.
I mean, you see it all the time. Like, if you've worked in an office and there's a handful of people there that might be from a generation or that are older, and they're annoyed by, like, oh, you're emailing PDFs back and forth, and they're like, in my day, we wrote a memo and the secretary took it across the office. It's like, yeah, man, you're a dinosaur. Like, you're done.
Right.
It's over. So AI is that. And you could either be that boomer that's sitting there complaining about it, like, my day, I made my advertisements in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever. Or you could just go with it, understand that it's inevitable. Like, that's just all of human progress. That's what we do.
Right. We evolve. It's like that old saying, get with it or get lost.
Right.
And that's kind of what it's a sad truth, but it's inevitable. Like you said, there's nothing you could do. You have to just, and it's still, AI is a tool.
It's
you
a tool.
Still need the creative mind of the user, of the consumer and you got to get those prompts, bro. You really got to get savvy.
You have to be good at it. And I actually just listened to a part of a podcast that was talking about AI music.
Really?
And they're two, like, music producers that have, like, they have a mind for hearing audio, like, really dissecting audio, not just listening to music, And to them, AI music all sounded the same, and it all sounds just fake. But to the regular person, is that the case? Like, you're hyper specific. This industry inside and out. Does a regular person think it sounds fake? Do they think it sounds kind of cool? Or
right?
Who knows? And if they can go home and go, like, I want a song about this, can they do that? Like, and would they be convinced by it?
Yeah, no, that's true. It's funny that you bring up the music aspect of it, because I got a friend. Shout out to my boy Def Dom. He's a producer. And he was just, one day he was fucking around with AI and he was like, can you write me a chord progression that sounds like this time period? Whatever. I'm butchering what he said to me. It was kind of like detailed, but whatever he said. Then it spit it back to him and he's like, okay, can you make it sound like it was coming out of a Rode keyboard, you know, and send me in MIDI format or whatever.
Yeah.
Then he did spit back a MIDI file to him and he ran it through the program, whatever VST he wanted to run it through. And it's like, dude, he was able to create something so magical and then sample from that to make a beat from the chord progression that he asked AI to spit out back at him.
But he still took it and did something else with it.
Yes.
So he got like the foundation.
Right. It's a tool. He used it as a tool.
Right.
And it's kind of a gray area and it's a fine line that you walk, right? Because then you get like in this battle of what's like actually artistic and what requires this and that, and you know.
Yeah. And it's, you know, in 15 years, can I imagine that they just replace people entirely? Maybe. You know, we'll see what happens. But for now, just figure out how to use it to your advantage.
Yeah, I think you'll always require a human, like you said, to steer the ship, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's impressive what they can do already. So, like I said, I wrote that app. I didn't talk to any software developers.
Yeah. I know.
So I already eliminated that job. Like, here's the app. It's done. I didn't need those guys.
That's fucking crazy, though. That's fucking wild, man. So beer is really fascinating to me because, like I already expressed to you, you know, previously numerous amount of times. I've been really disconnected from the beer world. Now I have friends that are in the industry, as such as yourself, and just, you know, friends that are just plain old consumers and connoisseurs. Mm-hmm. And I've been kind of disconnected from the world, you know. But it's fascinating to me because what is beer essentially? On paper, it's what? Water, yeast, hops, and barley, essentially, in the simplest form, right? But when you walk into a fucking liquor store, it's really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because there's not only fridges with a plethora of different styles, then there's stuff that sits outside of the fridge. I mean, you got ales, lagers, IPAs, lambics, saisons, stouts, porters. Like, if you just want to go in and pick up a beer, a lot of people just go based on the typical logos that they see plastered everywhere. Budweiser, Coors Light, because sometimes people don't want to think, especially in today's society, which makes beer consumption kind of interesting because people don't want to think. They just want to go and grab something and leave. So it takes a lot of effort to really start weaning out the garbage and starting to dive into the niche breweries and stuff like that. But growing up, guys like you and I, we were drinking fucking Natty Ice, Coors, you know, malt liquor like Old English, you know, all the nasty fucking garbage. So with that being said, being that when we grew up in that time frame and we were just grabbing anything that was accessible, can you remember the moment when your personal appreciation for beer really turned the corner and you started exploring higher quality or more rather complex beers, if you will?
Yeah. So sometime shortly after I turned 21, maybe even a little bit before I was 21, but definitely after, we'd be going out to bars. Excuse me. Sorry. We'd be going out to bars and it was like, you know, we drank Miller Lite or Coors Light or whatever.
Right.
And there was always other like tap handles at the bar. It was just like, what are those? Like, is that beer? What kind of beer is it? And so I remember seeing things like, you know, Blue Moon, Pabst, Sierra Nevada, a handful of like just bigger breweries, but they were still kind of craft in their own right. I guess Blue Moon's not, but so I just started going down the road with those. Excuse me, man. I got something stuck in my throat. Right. And slowly but surely, it was like, you know, you try this beer and it's good. And you're like, all right, well, what's that beer like? And what's this beer? And the next thing you know, you're in a liquor store and suddenly you're like, oh, there's options here. I'm not just like hyper focused on getting a 30 pack of Miller Lite or whatever it is. So that was kind of the gate opening for me, probably 2012-ish, 2011, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had a friend named Sean. You know Sean personally.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people that I personally knew that was getting into the craft beer scene, like a savage, because that kid is absolutely. When I met him, he had the best weed I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, shout out to my boy Sean Pellock. I call him S. Pellock the past couple months. But he's one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life.
The best.
He's such a giving, loving, caring individual. Mm-hmm. And it's to his own detriment because he can never say no. And he promises 40,000 people, yeah, I'll meet you here tonight at 7:00. And then only one person gets to benefit from that because once he gets there, he has such a good time, he can't attend to everybody else. But he was always such a connoisseur of pot, of beer, and he was onto the craft beer game before anybody I personally knew, like way back in the day. And he'll tell you the same shit. He was doing this shit he was getting heady toppers when nobody was getting heady toppers. You know what I mean? And the pot he was getting, he knew glass blowers, weed growers, like this stuff. Before that whole boom of any of this shit happened, Sean was the OG, and he did it. I mean, he even gave me my first sour. He got me into this type of shit. And, to be truthful, I heard about your brewery from somebody else, but Sean was the one who was like, yo, I go there, that's legit. Like, so he spoke for you. So for him telling me you're one of the top 10 IPA based brewery, I mean, you're not really IPA based, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the shit that's really popping. And like, when you talk about craft beer, everybody's like, oh, I fucking, it's got to be hazy or whatever. Yeah. So he was just speaking on that aspect. Like, for the stuff that's hyped, for the stuff that people love, is that haze. That straight haze. And he was telling me, like, they're one of the top 10. I'm like, man, if Shauno's saying it, it has to be true because I hold his word. I hold his gospel so high. There's certain people in your life that if they recommend a restaurant to you, you're never going to question it.
Yeah.
You know 100%. What I mean? And that's Shauno. So it was just cool to, he was one of the first people that I got to see what it was like to appreciate different types of beer. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, shout out to Sean.
Shout out Sean Pellock, baby.
He is the best. And I've seen firsthand what you're talking about when he shows up somewhere. He's like, I got to go. Like, I promised 20 people I'd be in 20 different places today. And I'm like, all right, in and out, whatever. But yeah, he's the best, and he has definitely been along for the ride with us. It's been like cool to see him kind of get into the fold because I knew people told me about him like, oh, he's in with like all these breweries. He knows people, blah, blah, blah. And I was
he's
like,
always triple OG, bro.
Yeah. Like, and then he started hanging out at our spot. I'm like, oh shit, we got Sean hanging out here. Like, oh, damn. All right, cool. Like, and no, he's the sweetest dude. And I don't know. I've like just the nicest dude.
Oh my God.
There's nothing, you can say nothing but nice things about that guy.
What aggravates me about Sean is I don't fucking see him enough. Dude.
Yeah,
like I love that dude so much. The last time I saw him was at your brewery and he was supposed to stay an hour. What we were there till fucking from 12
for a while.
Excuse me, till like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Because dude, I don't get to see him often.
Yeah.
Dude, what I do here, what I created here, Sean is a big part of why I created this. Dude, I met him playing this game that's to the left of you. Yes. I met him playing this game. I was 16 years old. I'm going to be 40 next week. That's when I met Sean. What?
At Willowbrook?
Yeah.
At the, what was it called?
Games, dude. Funny Games. Dude, I met Sean there and his name, quick sidebar, his name in the game was I'm High. That was his name. Because, dude, he'd come in there smelling like a dispensary before dispensaries even exist.
Right.
Like straight thrax, as he would put it. Thrax, dude. Shauno.
He's a man that knows what he likes, you know?
He knows, dude.
He's known for a long time.
He knows.
No, he's good people, the best. And we are, it feels like serendipitous that he picked our brewery, that he likes it. I'm like,
fucking best, dude.
Sean likes us. We're good.
He's the best, man. Nah, that's the stamp of approval you definitely want.
It is a stamp of approval.
It's
an honor to have, because, yeah, I mean, he's like, He's going everywhere.
Everywhere.
He's yeah, and I don't really know. I hear about it from our staff that are better friends with him that like knew him before they worked with us. But like, yeah, he's been getting beer everywhere. He gets stuff at Troon early. He gets stuff, he's just...
Who do you know is plugged with Troon, dude?
Sean.
That's what I'm saying.
That's it.
Dude, he put me on to all the sours that I drink. It's all because of him. If I didn't know him, I wouldn't have been into the shit that I'm into. The RARs, he was going out there. Dude, he was getting shit from Imprint years ago. Like all these crazy, heavily fruited, and he's getting the hazy shit. He's a savage, dude. He's a savage.
And that whole network like compounds upon itself. Like they know, I know a guy that's connected with that brewery down there and like up here, or whatever. And it's a wild thing that like, from our point in the industry, I don't know any of those people. Like, but our beer ends up in like South Carolina somehow. I'm like, that wasn't me. I didn't bring it there. Like, how did it get there? Who brought it?
Us.
Sean or like one of these guys that know it.
Dude, and he packs a fucking mighty priority mail package, dude. Oh,
he's
meticulous.
Antique snow globes is what they're shipping.
Antique snow globes. Wow, I love that comparison. Yeah, right. It's right. That's what it is.
That's what they say. They write it on, it's my grandmother's antique snow globes. I got to ship it down to my mom.
But I mean, what's funny is the actual packing is if they were shipping those. How careful.
Oh, yeah. They wrap them up. I mean, you got to get it there in one piece. Somebody bought that.
They do it, baby. So I was looking up and researching beer and shit like that, and I come to find that home brewing as a whole was legalized in the U.S. in 1978, which I had no idea about, which I assume would have really helped to ignite the craft beer movement heavily.
Yeah. I remember seeing, there's a brewery that has since gone out of business. They were called Magic Hat.
Oh, I remember Magic. I remember that shit. Wow.
Yeah. They were up in Vermont. And I remember years ago, I took the tour of it with I'm pretty sure I took it with my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. And they did a whole video like halfway through the tour where they talked about like prohibition, and then post-prohibition, you saw this boom in basically commercial beer, which is where your Budweisers and your Millers and all of them kind of like came to fruition. And slowly but surely, the United States got back into just being like, okay, alcohol's okay, you can brew it at home. But like all of those, the fact that it was banned in the first place was like a prohibition era thing. Yeah. When everyone was just clamping down on that kind of stuff. And then, so you see it kind of come back, and then, I mean, 70s, man. Like that was before we were born, so.
I know.
It was always legal as far as I'm concerned.
Since you guys, before you got into the brewery scene, you started as home brewers yourselves. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in how that journey began and how quickly did it evolve from a hobby for you into a full-time job?
Very quick. Very quick. So Ronnie reached out. I don't remember exactly how, but Ronnie was talking to a guy that he worked with. He was working at I can't remember where, somewhere in the city. And he started home brewing with a guy there.
Okay.
So they were going to homebrew. And he mentioned it to me, and I was like, yo, I'd love to be involved. The other guy's name was Kyle. So shout out to Kyle if he manages to hear this, wherever he is now. I don't know.
Hi, Kyle.
But they were going to homebrew together, and I was like, oh, let me do it with you. Because me and Ronnie had already met and like re-met basically, because we were friends when we were younger, and we kind of like drifted for a few years, and then we kind of got back in touch over beer. And they were going to homebrew together. I'm like, let me do it with you guys. And once we made one beer that was like, oh, I could drink this. This is okay. And we had like the most rinky-dink setup. Most homebrewers will tell you, like it's a ladder in your backyard, and you kind of have to stack the tanks so one can just like kind of gravity drain down to the other as you're brewing.
Wow.
Once we kind of figured out, like we got a beer cross the finish line 2 or 3 weeks later, and it was like, oh, this is beer. We could drink this. We were like, all right, I'm all in. Basically, what you did here with your podcast setup, this incredible setup that you
Thank
have
you,
here.
man. I appreciate it, man. I'm learning. You know?
But like as soon as I did it, I was like, I'm doing all of it. I'm going all in now. So we were like, okay, let's do our best at home to build out a system that emulates everything that professionals are doing, but just here at home.
On a smaller
scale. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So it cost a bunch of money, but we got like stainless steel fermenters. We had a full 3-vessel brewing rig. You know, anybody that brews or that home brews knows what I'm talking about. SS Brew Tech.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, is there like an industry standard for home brewing? Because I know obviously when you scale up, there's probably companies and you know, places that make things, you know, like when you're playing a guitar, Fender, like there's obviously the equivalent of that for brewing. So like home brewing, what is the equivalent of that for you? Like what is the industry standard for home brewing kits, like the cream of the crop?
So at the time, I'm not sure anymore because I'm not doing that anymore. At the time, SS Brewtech stuff was like the best. It was crazy expensive, and it was just the best.
What if you don't mind me asking, what's crazy expensive? Like let's just say, hypothetically speaking, ballpark, what did your home brewing setup cost you guys? I mean, I know it's a little personal, but I'm just really genuinely curious.
Probably like the baseline homebrew setup that we had was probably like $5,000.
Okay. That's expensive. It is a lot, but it's not. I was expecting a little bit higher, but that's not okay. I get it.
That was like just to kind of get operational,
to get moving.
And then there's always, you know, all these companies are good at like, oh, don't you want this like one little thing? It'll make it a little bit easier. And you're like, yeah, I do want that thing. So eventually it costed a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, at a baseline, I think it was probably somewhere in that ballpark.
And then you built upon that, obviously. Is there like, you know how like for weed connoisseurs and stuff, they have like High Times magazine and stuff like that. Is there any publication or online digital publication that caters to like people that are home brewing, getting into it, like to get you know, kind of in the motion?
Oh, the home brewing side, we were part of a forum called Homebrew Talk. And then there's like a subreddit for it too.
All those things are helpful because when you're starting out, you're going to be constantly Googling and searching and Redditing things to really, you know, start to troubleshoot because you're going to come across problems. Yeah.
I mean, you know, our name is Autodidact, which means self-taught, but we are certainly not. We had Google and we were on there a lot.
To me, in this day and age, that still means self-taught in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess I sought it out myself.
I mean, you could read something. It doesn't mean like, you know, I could read how the fucking Sistine Chapel was built. Doesn't mean I could do it. Sure. You're still self-taught.
Fair enough. Yeah, no. So, I mean, we used Homebrew Talk Forum. There was a lot of, I don't know if we ever really posted on there much, but there was certainly just enough like, I had a question, somebody else already asked it. I could find the answer, kind of like work through that myself. And then, yeah, just general Googling. There's subreddits for it. There's all sorts of groups.
Right.
And then even just homebrew shops, which they're a little fewer and further between nowadays. But like there was a great one in Boonton that since shut down. Where like if we had any questions, the guy who worked there knew so much about beer that you're like, I can't believe you don't own a brewery. Like, what are you doing? You're just running this homebrew shop. You know all of this.
Wow.
Like, go deeper with it, man. Like you could be doing it, you know?
Well, I kind of get it because think about this, like from this angle that I'm going to present to you. Michael Jordan's coach made Michael Jordan who he is, but he couldn't do what Michael Jordan did. And that's kind of like, I guess, what that guy's coming from. Like, it's easier to be a coach than to actually execute. He might know and have the knowledge, but to do it is another thing.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
I'm just trying to speak in his favor, if you will.
No, yeah. I mean, he certainly knew how to make beer, but he certainly was super knowledgeable about it. Maybe he just didn't want to, or he was busy enough with his job that he was just like,
yeah, it's possible.
But
how many times has your home setup, when you were home brewing, how many times did it evolve? Was it like, was it a bunch of times? Because you said you ended up upgrading, adding new tanks, doing this. Like, did your home setup evolve many times? Or was it kind of like you just hit it a couple times, knew where you had it dialed in, and then you worked from there?
There was definitely like a big initial investment in it to get it like working. And then from there, when we started it, we had like one fermenter, which fermenters are usually the bottleneck of everything.
Okay.
Because the beer's got to sit in a fermenter for 2 weeks at least. So we had one. I think we eventually got 3. So you upgrade those along the way. But yeah, it was iterated on quite a bit. Like it was just, we can get these hoses that connect from tank to tank that are a little bit better. Like, all right, let's get those. We can get a different pump that like will just make things a little bit smoother.
Yeah.
Or we can get a bottle capper, or eventually we got a like really, really homebrew version of a canning line that we could put beer in cans. You know, all of that kind of stuff.
I think that stuff's so important though, because like looking back on it, like just all those incremental steps building upon what you did today, like if you didn't do all that troubleshooting and all that figuring out, you wouldn't have ended up being able to do what you do today. And I think that's awesome to think back on. Like, is it weird for you retrospectively to think back like, man, we really started from the bottom and like all these little things that we learned along the way. Like if we didn't buy that hose in that incorrect size, we wouldn't have learned how to do it correct. Like there's all these little idiosyncrasies that make all this stuff so poetic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's always the thing that I struggle with. Because in the moment, all of those things feel so overwhelming and like world ending. And I know I'm like, in a year, you will have forgotten this happened at all. You know what I mean? Like it happens to all of us. It happens with everything. Like you got a bill due that's like, fuck, how am I going to pay that? Whatever. It all feels so catastrophic at the time. Like we got to get this beer. And homebrewing skill, there was no stakes whatsoever. It's like, if this beer doesn't work out, just cool, dump it into the street and like, let's move on, like whatever.
Right.
Even though it cost money at that time. And like, it wasn't like we were independently wealthy. So it was like, yeah, it cost money. But then and now it always felt overwhelming, which is just my nature, I think. But it always manages in the end to just kind of like work out. We're okay. Like, all right, cool. We made it through that. We solved that problem. Like, oh yeah, this piece that we brought was kind of the wrong size, didn't quite work, but we like hodgepodged it together with some other piece and it worked. We eventually got there.
But those are all important stepping stones to your journey. That's the thing, is like all those trials and tribulations are what made you what you are. That's why it's like I said, there's a poetry in those issues. And it's weird when you're in the thick of it, it's no bueno.
Yeah, no.
But afterwards, when you retrospectively look on, you're like, man, if I didn't have that issue, I wouldn't have figured out how to handle it. And now I know from this point forth, I'm good.
Now it feels like that. But I'd also be cool with a few less retrospective moments that like, I'm like,
of course.
How are we going to make this work? Which it happens all the time. It still happens.
Yeah.
All the time. So this will come out after our anniversary. But
right, 1 week after.
Right now, I know that on Tuesday, I have to we've promised 4 different, we haven't really announced what the beers are yet at this moment, but there are 4 beers that need to be out by next Saturday.
Oh, I need them all.
Which is the worst. It's the worst thing to do because, and other brewers will tell you, it's like your anniversary is a nightmare because you don't talk about a beer until it's in a can or in a keg and it's ready to go.
Right.
But I need to build up hype for the anniversary. Like we need to get the wheels in motion. We start talking about it at the beginning of March. Like people like, oh, what's coming? Did you do any cool collabs, whatever? Like, yeah, we did, blah, blah, blah. And so right now, like here on Saturday evening, I have 4 beers that are ready-ish to be canned, and they need to be canned on Tuesday.
Wow.
In order for me to put them out on Saturday. Wow. So the stress of that is like, okay. And they should be all right. To be fair, this year, all of the beers, knock on wood, have seemed to play ball, and they're all in good shape, and I feel really confident about all of them. But every year, it's like, all right, I hope they make it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that I'll be in Chicago next week. That's why I'm delaying this podcast to a week after. I can't release it until a week after the anniversary. I'd suck because 3 is my favorite number, as I told you. This is your 3rd-year anniverseen I seen a peek of the glass. Did you see the glass? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It's going to come out after. You showed me fire glass. I need that.
I got you.
I'm going to have to Venmo you just to hold it in the side in the corner. Have Neko fucking nestle it under his titty. In the
He'll
corner.
Keep it safe for you.
My man Neko. Shout Neko. Here's an interesting question for you. So when you first started, in comparison to now, when you first started, how long do you think it took you guys, you and the other Ron, shout out to the other Ron, how long do you think it took you to really get a grasp on brewing as a whole and be like, okay, now I have an understanding of how this thing works? Because that's the hardest part, is from when you start to when you go, oh, I understand how this thing works. Okay, I can get into a rhythm now. There's a lot of trial and error for that rhythm.
Yeah. I still don't know. We know there are countless styles of beers you can make.
Right.
We make a lot of IPAs. People like IPAs, so those beers are great, and we're happy to make them. But then you're always kind of like looking over the horizon at like, well, I'd like to make a weird Belgian style that I've never made before, or whatever kind of beer that we've never produced before that I'm like, I'd like to make that, and I don't know how to make that. I don't know the first thing about it. Like, so there's the challenge of it is always kind of interesting to just kind of like get us moving.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about beers that we've produced before, like a double IPA or a single IPA or like a lager, like we feel pretty confident when we set out to brew a beer. They're like, I know where this is going to end up, and we're good with that. But there's always something else.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah.
During your homebrewing days, I heard that you ended up canning your own stuff and selling it out of your garage.
Not selling it.
Well.
For legal requirements, we were not selling it.
For free.
We gave it
out for free.
We did give it out for free. We really did.
Anyway, producing it in some format where you could let others consume it, right? Let's just say that. Let's say for safe, right? I heard you had a website going. Mm-hmm. You built a little hype on it. What was the name of the that you went by during those days?
Oh, it was Autodidact.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Autodidact Beer has been registered since, I don't know, when we first started.
Wow.
I always knew how to do web design and stuff, so I built it, and I was just like, I was bored with it. Like, it's like this. I'm like, I just feel like doing this. So I just did it. I made a website.
So that was the original name. I thought you had a different name during the home.
We had different logos that kind of evolved over time, but the name was always the same. Once we picked that was it.
So let me ask this. Out of the recipes that you were doing in your home brewing days, how many of those were able to be resurrected during your actual big scale brewing days in present day?
A lot of them. Most of them have made an appearance.
Really?
Some of them we've since kind of retired just because we didn't want to do them anymore. But like Daylily, Usurper, Bouquet, Pastel, 515, those were all
the original stuff from the garage.
Oh yeah. We had a bunch of them.
Oh shit.
But now it's like people are more interested in the one-offs rather than the staples. So like we just kind of we're more fun doing one-offs.
Wow. There are so many different hop varieties out there. Mm-hmm. It's insanity. Each with their own flavor profiles and characteristics. The list goes on and on. I imagine when you're starting out, it can be overwhelming figuring out what works well together. So what was that process like for you starting out? And, what is it like when you're first learning the raw materials?
At first, you're right. There's so many hops out there. right out the gate, it's like, your big name hops, like Citra, Mosaic, a handful of hops from New Zealand.
Yeah.
At the time when we were starting out, Galaxy was huge. That's from Australia. That's not so big anymore.
Oh, Galaxy's from Australia.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like big names that you can kind of start with.
Right.
And then it's just kind of become like you can go on these websites, all these different hop producers out in Yakima Valley in Washington or over in Europe or whatever. You could get lost for days. And it's really, it just comes down to experimentation, really. Like I want to try this, I want to try that. You hear that this hop maybe isn't great for IPAs, so you're like, okay, maybe I won't do that if I'm doing an IPA, but like maybe that hop's really good if you're doing a nice lager or something more traditional. It's like, okay, let me try it. Like there's a whole bunch of European hops that are just like incredible in lagers that don't really get much play anywhere else. Like they're not, IPA hops or whatever. So it's really just, it's like anything else. You just go on, like we would go online and we'd just like read through, this is this hop profile. And this was when we started. Now we're much more familiar with like the composition of hops, like alpha acids, beta acids, all these different like chemical makeup of hops, like the material that is in a hop. And how those things are going to play in this style of beer versus that style of beer. Whatever. Yeah. It gets a little like nerdy for sure.
Don't hold back. Because I'm genuinely interested. I don't really know much about hops. I know it's a part of the cannabis family.
Yeah.
And I could taste it when I drink it.
Oh yeah, there's certainly hops that just taste like weed.
Yeah,
my favorite.
It's very interesting to me. So I want to learn about them on this as well as,
So yeah, I mean, hops have a handful of oils that are present within each of them. Different lineages of hops. Like Citra is a genetic sequence. Like it's a specific genetic sequence, and they just reproduce that hop. But even from there, like this year, we picked our own crop of Citra and Mosaic hops. One of the beers that we do all the time is called Daylily. Those two hops are in that beer, and it was producing it, buying hops just off like a marketplace. It was Citra, it was Mosaic, but it was like inconsistent because you're getting hops that were from different farms, grown under different conditions, or like somebody else's contract that they weren't able to fulfill. So you're kind of buying from somebody else. And so when we set out, we're like, all right, we want Daylily to be as consistent as we could possibly get it. So let's contract Citra and Mosaic hops. So you go to a hop supplier. We went to one called, I'm pretty sure we were with Crosby, which is just a hop distributor and supplier out in Washington. And we said, all right, we want to contract these hops in these volumes. Can you give us some samples to like see which ones? And they'll give you lots of hops, like a little bag of them, where it's Citra, it's Mosaic, but they're grown in different farms. The soil composition is different. The amount of light that they got throughout the year is different. The amount of water they got throughout the year is different. So these like subtleties kind of poke up through the finished product. And we, Ronnie and I, we knew enough about this, but this is another one of those like imposter syndrome moments where we always have where we're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But we both managed to land. We had 5, I think, varieties of Citra and 5 varieties of Mosaic.
Wow. From
different farms and even different like fields from those farms. Wow. So they're 5 different lots. And we both landed on the same exact Citra and the same exact Mosaic. Like we tried all 5. We were, you kind of do this with your hands. You smell it. You like, see what notes you get out of it and kind of try and figure out, like, is that what I'm looking for daylily or not, whatever. And we landed, I want that Citra and I want that Mosaic. And we both had the same opinion.
What are the fucking odds that you both picked the synchronicity of that is ethereal. It's insane.
It's the two of us being business partners is we're in tune with something. I don't know what it is.
You guys are in sync. No Justin Timberlake. You know what I'm saying? No Lance Bass. You know what I mean?
We're linked somehow, like across some kind of astral plane. We're there. I don't know what it is, but we always end up kind of in the same ballpark as each other. We're always like, that's the one. That's one.
But that's so important, dude. Why you guys are in business together, because it's so hard to have a business with another individual.
For sure.
It's really differing opinions, different this. The fact that you guys can synchronize is insanity. I got to give Ron a hug next time I see him.
Give him
just
a hug.
for this combo.
Give him a hug. He's going through it, man. We're all going through it. Like, we're dealing with it.
I'll give him a fresh hug. I'll tug on his beard a little bit.
Yeah,
give him a fresh hug.
But yeah, so we picked the same Citra Mosaic. The oil composition was there. Like, all of the pieces that we wanted in those hops were there.
Insane.
And then, so then we think about it. We're like, all right, like, this is the first time we've ever selected hops, like, from a lot, contracted them. So for the rest of the year, when we order Citra Mosaic, it's going to be from that lot. Like, it's from that farm, that field, that exact crop. And it was the first time we ever did that. So we were like, all right, like, how's this going to play out in the beer? Like, I don't know. Like, is it that much better than what we were just buying at random without, sight unseen? And like, immediately, the first batch of Daylily that we made with them, we're like, oh my God, this beer's way better than it ever was. Like, that everything that we got out of those hops played right into the beer, and it poked right out, and we're like, this is a different beer. Like, this is better. And it was so weird. Like, it's surreal to see, because that's that imposter syndrome stuff. Like, we're like, oh, we're just idiots, and it just happens to be working out. It's like, no, we picked those hops, and now the beer is, like, noticeably different.
Right.
And I guess we should pat ourselves on the back that, like, hey, that worked out. Like, cool, great. Now we use that Citra in a ton of our beers, and the Mosaic we use in a lot of beers too, but a little bit less.
But you said it before, consistency. Consistency to me is so important across many industries, because the more consistent you can get something, the more you can dial it in. Mm-hmm. And dialing something in is crucial, especially in your field. You don't want to do a Daylily fucking 7 months later and it's different than the one you did 3 months prior. You want it to be the same across the board. So the more you understand the product, the more you understand the raw material, the more of a spiritual relationship that you have with the product. Everything's gonna fucking sing like fucking a million birds in the street.
Well, that's the interesting part of all of it. And like, you'll hear craft brewers, I mean, they've been saying it since I was getting into the industry, like what companies like Budweiser or Sam Adams or Miller's or whatever, like what they do to be able to go anywhere in the world and a Budweiser tastes exactly like a Budweiser.
Right.
It's the same. That's kind of miraculous. Like, that's a hard thing to accomplish. And I know some of the tricks that breweries do in order to, like, you know, this batch is kind of a little to this and that batch is a little to that. Like, how do we just kind of even it out so all of the batches taste like what this beer is supposed to taste like?
Yeah.
And I know some of the tricks they do. We don't do them right now, but to be able to make something consistently is hard. We do a lot of one-off beers that, like, it doesn't matter. We're never going to make it again. It'll just So whether it was right or wrong or as intended or not, like it's here and then it's gone, which is cool. Like we like doing those beers, but like for Daylily or some of our flagship beers to be recognizable, like at a sip where like you didn't see the label, but you drank it and you're like, oh, that's Daylily. That's hard. That's really hard. And it's one of the things that like craft beer has, I don't know if all these breweries have done it on purpose, but they have steered away from making true reproducible flagship beers because it's like, I don't know if we have the capability of making it consistent, you know?
It's the inconsistent. Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough thing to do. And like learning some of the ways that other breweries have made their beers consistent, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like maybe we can do that eventually. But it's hard. Like that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's harder than making an interesting IPA every week or whatever. Like that's a hard thing to do.
It's the same thing across the restaurant industry. Like you want to go to a restaurant, order, let's say, a steak. And you want to order it medium rare, and like 40 people order it medium rare, and it's dialed in where the pink is where you want it to be, the char, the sear, and that shit is all a science. And the simpler something is, the harder it is to accomplish across 50,000 of them.
Right.
It's that consistency, that dialing it in.
I mean, it's, you know, and you can liken it, you know, say what you will about anything in the corporate world, but like, if I go to Indiana tomorrow and order a Big Mac, it's going to taste like a Big Mac. Like I know that, you know?
Right.
So, you know, is that what you're after? Do you want that consistency across the board? Okay. Then you need to pursue the right avenues to do that. But it's a hard thing to dial in for sure.
Yes, for sure. 100%.
I feel like with the hops that we got, like the fact that we contracted those 2 hops and they're consistent, at least for the year, Daylily has been like, okay, I know where it's going to land. I know what it's like, which is cool. That's fun to see.
I have a unique, like I said, most of the people listening to this, I'm speaking more on a broad spectrum because I'm not necessarily typically a beer guy. Mm-hmm. This isn't a beer specific podcast. This is a very broad podcast. So the questions I'm going to ask, some of the beer snobs might hear it and be like, oh, I already knew that or this and that. But this isn't for you. This is for everyone.
It's for everybody.
So I'm going to ask more broad questions. So I see, from my knowledge, I see that the hops that people brew with are already pre-ground and they almost look like pellets, right? And they come in a bag, pre-sealed, the whole nine. So my question to you is, out of curiosity, are there any breweries that brew with hops in their raw form or grind them themselves? And is there any benefit to doing so in this way?
I don't know anybody that grinds them themselves. Although one of the hop suppliers we use will sell you a grinder. And they'll call it a hop grinder, but it's a grinder for something else. It's paraphernalia, if you will.
I gotcha.
But you can use whole cone hops in certain beers. Well, you could use it. You could use them for any beer. Mostly they come down to when they pelletize hops, it pulls off like strips away some of the material that you just don't need, and that every single hop you put in your beer is going to absorb liquid and in turn become waste that like you can't package because it's stuck in a hop. So you kind of want to minimize the amount of liquid that gets absorbed into a hop and becomes waste. So the pelletized hops are just able to concentrate all of the things that you want from the hop while removing some of the excess material.
Okay.
Like, you know, you've seen a hop plant, so it's the leaves and stuff are not useful most of the time. You're mostly after like the oils that are deep within the hop. So pelletizing them has a that process.
It's got an advantage.
Yeah, it removes that stuff because ultimately what that would end up being is just waste that we're dumping down the drain. So pelletizing it just takes that excess material away. We could put them in the beer and it still ends up being a lot of waste, but it's not as much.
Oh, okay. I was just curious because, like I said, I like to draw parallels because when I was, doing my brewery research and learning how people do things in their order of operations, there's a lot of industries, like let's say chefs, that like there's certain chefs that only use certain cuts of meats to do this to X, Y, and Z. But then there's some people, some practitioners that think it's spiritual to use the entire part of the cow or use every avenue. And I'm assuming that in brewing, there's purists, if you will, that will use every part of the hop for something. So that's the only reason why I asked that I'm sure there's some breweries out there that use every part of the hop.
There's got to be a few that like exclusively brew with whole cone hops.
And I'm sure they have some sort of weird reason to do so.
Yeah. For a lot of styles of beer, it would be pretty wasteful.
Makes sense.
Which is really just, the finished product might be fine, but it's really just shooting yourself in the foot because you won't be able to produce as much of it. Like you'll have so much waste.
Right.
We did produce, my father-in-law, while we were home brewing, excuse me, he started growing hops in his backyard. I gave him a starter kit for hops. It was a bunch of
really?
seeds. Yeah. They're Triumph hops. That's the family. And he started growing them in his backyard. And at the time, my wife and I didn't have anywhere to grow them. So we are just like, saw if he wanted to grow them in his yard. So he started growing the hops. And years later, like those hops grow like crazy. Like hops grow like a weed. They overtake things.
Really?
So at the end of every year, he's got like a massive, hop bind going everywhere. He's set up like a trellis to kind of like control it a little bit, and it's huge. There's hops everywhere. Wow. Even with all of that he has grown, it's still pretty small for the scale that we're at. Like he can maybe produce like 2 pounds, if that. But we did do a beer last year where we pulled all the hops off of his stuff, and we made I think it's a Keller beer. We made a Keller beer last year with his stuff, which is
you remember the name of it or no? I know you do so much.
Yeah, no, I know the beer. I could picture the label. It's named, the song is the title credits for the show Portlandia. Feel it all around. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you tell the consumers where they came from or no?
Yeah, in the Instagram post, I think we did like talk a little bit about his little, mini hop farm over there.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
They all went in the boil. They were whole cone hops. It's certainly like, it's a little more wasteful, but for the story of that beer, it's like, yeah, it's cool. Like,
oh, sick.
You take a picture of these like whole cone, for anybody that hasn't held a hop in their hand, like go get a hop. Find somewhere to find, like just hold one. Cause it is the most fascinating plant I've ever seen.
It looks beautiful. I've never held one. I'd love to try.
I wish I had some. I would have brought them today, but like there's nothing like it. I've never seen a flower or a plant that's anything like what a hop is. Like they're big and they're like, there's, girth to them. Like
they're buddy.
Yeah. Like it's like a huge,
grab it.
And they smell wonderful.
Smell it.
They smell so good.
Oh,
that's the number one thing. Like any brewery will tell you, like they'll go out and do aroma, the smell and whatever. And like, how do I get that in the finished product? Because it just is so wonderful. Hops are unbelievable. I love them.
Like I said, my questions come from a real, an innocent, juvenile place because I'm not within the beer space and I'm not really well educated, but it interests me. So like all that stuff reading about, I'm like, oh, I want to learn about this and that. And then one thing that I always also wanted to learn about was essentially what makes an IPA hazy.
Short answer is polyphenols. Long answer is sort of an interplay between proteins in the grist. So you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, it's sort of German purity law of beer. You have barley, hops, water, and yeast.
Right.
So in your barley, you use a lot of adjuncts that will contribute a lot of proteins, like oats, like wheat. They contribute proteins just to the overall wort, which wort is the sugar water that produces beer eventually. And then high oil compound hops will, the best way that you could describe it is like all of these pieces get stuck together in solution and they just float, basically. So it's like hop compounds and proteins from the grist that just get glommed together and they just stay floating in solution. And that's what the haze is.
Wow. So that's what makes it hazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting.
And yeast. Yeast kind of plays a part in that. You do want to try and drop out as much of the yeast as you can. But eventually some of it gets stuck in those kind of, stuck up in solution as well.
Well, so with IPAs, you got singles, doubles, and triple IPAs. Mm-hmm. What makes them different, and is the process itself for a triple way more intensive than a single? I'm assuming it's the additive of hops that makes them from a single to a double to a triple. That's what I'm assuming.
It's not correct.
Great. Even better. I'm here to learn, baby.
So the primary driver between the three of them is just your ABV. So a single kind of caps out just under 8%. Double, and this is a variable scale, so people have different opinions on like where everything should land. But
of course, same thing with fragrance. I'm going to bring that up later, but there's different variables in oil percentage and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So single IPA, you'd say somewhere between 6% and 8%. Double IPA, I would say between 8 and 10. And then 10% and on, I would say is a triple IPA. There's people that do quadruple IPAs, but they're fewer and further between, and we don't make them, so I don't really, they just are what they are. That all comes down to sugar concentration in the wort, and sugar concentration in the wort comes from your grains. So the barley, essentially, and adjuncts that go into the foundation of the beer, what you mash with, that's going to make your sugar content and create a higher alcohol content in the long run.
Oh, so from a single to a double to a triple, it's not adding more hops to it.
We do add more hops to a double or a triple IPA, but it is not what makes it a double or triple IPA. So basically,
I got it.
If you've like the brewing school 101 class is like you use all those grains, your barley and your water. Through the mash and the boil process, you make what's called wort, which is just sugar water. And the best thing I've always thought of it as, like if you ever made a bowl of oatmeal, like if you just strain all the water out of the oatmeal and leave the oats behind, that's kind of what wort is. It's just like a concentrated sugary water.
Right.
You knock that into a vessel, your fermenters, and the yeast will eat that sugar and convert it into alcohol and carbonation. So the higher amount of sugar that's in there, the more there is to convert, which means you just get a higher alcohol percentage at the end.
Oh, okay. That makes total sense now. So what about making, let's say, making like a lager, a porter, or a stout, let's say, that's dark.
Okay.
What exactly in the process makes the beer darker in color when producing it? Like, like your Journey's End, let's say, because your Journey's End is not only a staple in your lineup, it's fantastic, but it's darker. So what in the process makes that darker than the other stuff?
So darker beers are just made when you're mashing, which your mash is your kind of like first step in the brew day. you're just using a concentration of roasted malts. So when a malt house, between malting and kilning the malt, they just basically burn it, I guess is the best way to like plainly say it. So you have it's like kind of charred, and you use a very surprisingly small amount of that style malt, and it just makes your whole beer darker. And depending on what kind of beer you're going for, whatever, you use more or less of that. If you're going really dark, or you could use malts that are somewhere in between. So that's how you get from like amber or really pale amber, darker, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Malts that have been taken through that process to different extremes, basically.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is coming from a completely like juvenile. I don't have the knowledge that you possess of beer, so I'm
the funny part is, it's stuff that like is so like I don't even know how to talk about it anymore. That's the funny part. I'm like,
well, you've become one with it, so I can completely understand you.
I always envy people that can like off the cuff just spout every part of their industry, and like most of the stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I just know that, so my brain just like, you forget how that works. You just know how that works. You know
that's completely relatable. I'm the same way. Like with a lot of this arcade stuff, with anything that I do, it's like when you get so in tune with something and you know how to do it, and you never have the opportunity to explain it, that part of your processing just leaves you. So it's just like second nature.
Yeah.
And like when somebody asks upon the product, you're like, oh shit, I got to figure out how to articulate this and spout it out in words. So trust me, there's no. I can relate to you.
I've always been bad at it. But yeah, I mean, long story short, like with different malts, like a roasted barley malt is going to be really dark. It's basically burnt. Like it's like you put a bagel in the oven for a little too long and it burnt, or a piece of toast, whatever. That's what's coming off of it into your beer.
Right.
But it's just like, you would be surprised how small of an amount that style malt you need in order to make your entire beer like black.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
That was the one thing when we first started homebrewing that like really caught me, because most of your grist would stay with your standard like base malts that you use for most beers.
Right.
But I'm making a stout, so I just need a little bit of this chocolate malt or like midnight wheat or like roasted barley, whatever it is. And it makes the whole beer just black. It was the most fascinating thing to me. Still is.
That sounds so fun to me. Like just the discovering of that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to reflect on that. I haven't thought about that in years.
Let me ask you this. Personally, you, whether it's to taste or to the scent, what are your personal favorite hops to work with and why? Also, do you know what the other Ron's personal favorite? Assuming you're so in tune, you probably both have the identical palate.
We have similar tastes. I definitely like hops that smell like weed and that smell, this is an industry term that most people feel weird about, but sweaty. Sweaty hops.
So that's an industry term, sweaty.
I mean, because it's unappealing by its nature. Like, oh, I love how sweaty that smells.
Is there a
like,
salty aspect
it's like
to
an oniony, sweaty, kind of like deep weed, like diesel dank. It's disgusting if you talk about it.
As Sean would say, that thrax.
Yeah. Sean probably knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
he probably knows exactly.
He needs to have his own brewery, that guy. For real.
I'm in. I'm going to his brewery. He's going to produce fire. I know it.
Straight thrax.
No, I love, like, one of my favorite hops is a hop called Nelson.
Oh, the best.
It's a New Zealand hop. And if you get the right crop of it, it's just like,
chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's sweaty weed. That's the best way I could describe it.
Wow.
And that's what I want. Like, there are people that like their IPAs to go like super citrusy or like fruit forward, feel like kind of juicy to it. I want my IPAs to feel sweaty.
Wow.
And I think there's a lot of people that are coming around to that. Like, it's a weird thing to see that the juiciness craze of like IPAs has kind of, it feels like it's subsided a little bit, and people are like, I want that like diesel dankness. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. Because I was never a big weed guy. So that's my weed. That's what I get.
You know what's cool about being in the position that you're in is you have an opportunity to dictate where a small portion of the industry goes. So if that's what you're pushing, if you slowly, incrementally implant that into your brews, you can kind of dictate what you're fucking, you know what I'm saying?
The emphasis is on the small portion of the industry.
Sweat, ball sweat, mushroom sweat.
It's my favorite.
You like
No,
that
I mean,
dank.
I don't know. Like, there's no other way to describe it. It's like there was a batch of, there's a beer in Vermont from Alchemist called Focal Banger. He makes Heady Topper. I'm sure you've heard of Heady Topper.
Yeah, I love the artwork on both of those. I know both of those.
Oh, you know both. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. There was a Focal Banger we got once that Ronnie said tasted like marinara sauce. And I was just like,
Come on, let me tug on this beer. Ronnie, let me tug.
that's it.
Marinara.
That's what I want. Like, I want it to go that way.
You want it to be thick.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Marinara, that's wild.
But
To
like,
say a brew smells like marinara
I know.
for taste is wild.
And so the hops in Focal Banger, at least as far as I can remember, I'm pretty sure are all American hops. And like, they can do that. Like, you get the right lots, they can kind of just go that kind of that direction with it. And like,
I like it.
I love that style. I love, like, if I'm going to drink an IPA, like pretty much where Shade Tree is, which we're drinking here,
Fire.
that is where I want that style beer to be.
Wow. Let me ask you this. When did you guys decide to take that next step from your home brewing phase to we're going to open a fucking brewery? And how did that come to be?
So yeah, it was always the goal. Like I said, kind of in the beginning, like when we made one or two beers that were like, okay, this is a beer. We're going to pursue everything we can do to get there. And the first step of that was emulating the mechanical nature of like, here's how we brew. Like, we're brewing, we have the 3 vessels, we brew from one to the other, we brew into a stainless steel fermenter, we control the temperature in that fermenter, we, everything that we can do to make our process at the home brewing scale was done so that it looked like a commercial brewery, like early. And then, I mean, I don't know, like we probably homebrewed for a year and a half before we were just like, this is what we want to do. How do we do it? And it was just push, no matter what. Invest in the equipment we had at home. Try and find a way to make it come to life elsewhere. And that was kind of like, you mentioned we were releasing cans out of the home brewing side of it. We put them up for sale on our website. They were free. We did ask if people wanted to tip at the end of it. We were like,
well, legally speaking,
leave a couple bucks if you want. No, but it was all voluntary. It was on their own. Like it was on the up and up. I'm very nervous about all that shit. So I was like, all right, let's
throw me a couple of greenbacks donation. You guys.
Well, it was like it would be so foolish of us to charge money for this here. And then like when we go to actually open a brewery, the government's just like, look, we saw that you were charging, illegal, you're going to jail instead. Like, all right.
Right.
So it was all very on the up and up. But it was like, all of that was just kind of stepping towards how do we make this real? And then, eventually we made it there.
Let me ask you this.
Go on.
So for people who may not know that are listening, like I said, I have a very vast variety, big, broad audience. So for those who may not know, contract brewing is when a brand hires another brewery to produce their beer in a nutshell, and then they sell it, whatever. I know places like that I found out, like I told you before, that Bolero Snort, I had no idea they started out this way until they started producing it themselves. Hoboken Brewery currently operates in that format that we're speaking of. Since you guys started straight from home brewing, went from home brewing right to your own brewery, did contract brewing ever cross your mind? And what do you think the pros and cons are from viewing that approach?
So it did. It definitely crossed our mind. It never felt like something we were really going to get into, mostly because it seemed like the legal requirements for doing it were just confusing enough at our like very layman approach at that time that we were like, I don't know how to do this, and if we even can. And it was never the focus, because 100% from the moment we started doing it, it was like, I want a tap room. I want to control the experience. I want people to come in and have our beers under our circumstances and feel like I get the vibe, whatever it is.
Right.
And that's no discredit to anybody that's ever contracted, that's done like, approach the business from whatever angle they wanted to approach it as. For us, it was always like, no, we need a destination. Like, you need to be able to come here and feel like what we feel about this. The beer, the atmosphere, the music, the people, all of that stuff was crucial. I mean, it's crucial. We've focused on it ad nauseum. It kills us. We think about it all the time.
Wow.
It's all we talk about. And like, the beer is a significant portion of that. But like, every other part of it is equally significant. Like, you want people to come to a place where they're like, I feel welcome here. I feel comfortable here. I like it. It's open. It's airy. I mean, you had the luxury of experiencing it like for the first time not too long ago.
Well, I'm going to give you my perspective soon. Don't worry.
It's fresh in your brain, I hope.
Fresh.
That is so important to us, because the places, and it's just me emulating the things that have mattered to me, like going to a place and just being like, man, this place is so fucking cool. These people have, whether they know it or not, they've tapped into some kind of vibe, and chances are they knew it. Like, chances are it takes a lot of work to tap into something like behind the scenes.
Right.
You're trying to make that come together. But like, yeah, some of the coolest places my wife and I have ever been to together. And like I did craft beer with Ronnie. Like, we made beer together, but like, the depth of my experience in the industry and experiencing breweries across the world is with my wife. And like, we did that together.
Wow.
And oh man, it's just so important to me. It's so important that like, you come here and you feel some kind of way. And it's, I don't know what we tapped into, but we've been so fortunate that like, people walk into our space and they're just like, this place is cool. There's plant life. It's clean. It's modern. The bar's cool. Like, whatever, all the pieces, whatever they individually kind of like grab onto and that they like. We have been so fortunate that like a lot of people have come in and been like, this is great. And every time it happens, I was saying it to you before we started, like, every person that walks through the door, if I'm there, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. I'm like, this guy chose to come here. Out of anywhere he can go today, he can go to any other brewery, he can go to a restaurant, he can go to a bar, he can go wherever, he can go home. He could choose, I'm not going to spend any fucking money today. I'm just going to go home. But he chose to come here. And like, the honor of being able to experience that and see people choose your spot, I'm like, I can live on that forever. Can't pay the bills with it, but I can live on it. It'd be the best.
Since we're talking about the experience that you intend when you go to the brewery, I have to tell you about my personal experience.
That's what we're here for. That's what I want to know.
So I heard you had the brewery, the tap room, this and that, but I've never went there yet. So I was like, you know what? Before we record this podcast, it is imperative that I personally go there before we record, experience, take in what it's like there to really get a grasp on your message, your overall, you and the other Ron's overall message. And I got to tell you, man, I pull up, I'm driving up there, Morris Plains. I park the car, I see the outside, I pull in, and it's just, I open the front doors, and I just get introduced to this world that I had no knowledge of. Beautiful cleanliness is the first thing that sparked my mind.
Okay.
The most fortunate thing that I had to have when I came there for the first time ever was that Necco was in the back crushing hops like he was churning butter.
You came on a brew day, yeah.
I came on a brew day. I came on a brew day, and I came there, and I got to smell, and I've never smelled what that was like because I'm not a beer guy. I don't go to breweries. And even though I don't go to breweries, I'm still confident that my experience at Autodidact will not translate across other breweries. I know that. I'm not stupid. I'm very in tune with spirituality and energies. And I know I'm not going to get that everywhere.
I mean, I can't guarantee that other breweries will align your chakras the way that we did.
Right.
But
the feng shui.
The feng shui. the chi was there.
The chi was there.
You definitely came on the right day. And you had an experience that we are fortunate and also kind of, we are fortunate enough that a lot of people have the experience that you have. That they walk through the front door that they're like, oh man, I had no idea.
Dude, I came there, I walk in. Like I said, the smell was, I can't wait. You got to tell me on a schedule when your brew days are so I could walk in and just smell because I smelt it. And
I got a funny story with that too. Because, I mean, so you smelled a brew day, which like the beginnings of a brew day, the first thing that you do, you're taking super hot water, your strike water. It's like 180 degrees. And you're mixing it in with malted barley. Depending on the beer, there could be a number of other things in there, but I don't know what we were brewing the day you were there. But like at the very least, malted barley, some wheat, some oats, like who knows? It smells like a vanilla bakery bread, like just it permeates everything. It smells beautiful. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Like my wife and I will travel a little bit and we'll go to breweries and whatever, and you could walk through the front door and you can immediately tell, oh, they're brewing today. And it smells unbelievable. It's my favorite. Funnily enough, the pharmacy that's next to us in our little strip mall there hated it. The woman that opened it, it's a different owner now, but the woman that initially opened it, she would come over. She's like, what are you guys doing? And we're like, we're brewing. Like it's Monday morning at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, yeah, we're brewing beer. That's what we do here. She's like, it smells like old vegetables. And we're like, what? It smells nothing like that. It smells like vanilla bread. Like it's the total opposite of old rotten broccoli or whatever the hell she thought it smelled like. And yeah, I don't know if like something weird was getting pumped through her air vents because we were brewing or whatever, but like, we're like, all right, I'm sorry. We're not going to stop. Like, we're going to keep doing this is what we do here. But it was always weird because it's like one of the most pleasant aromas I know, just like beer being brewed. And for that woman to just be like, I hate this. I'm like, I'm sorry, lady. You open next to a brewery. What do you want me to do?
Right?
Like, this is what we do here. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, for me, it's like I walk in, I open those doors. I just get overtaken. by that fucking smell of fresh hops. I've never smelled that before because I do not go brew hopping. This is not my thing. And I'm just like I told you, I haven't had a beer in 10 years, a IPA in 10 years before I had yours that day, which was Retrospect, which is my favorite. I have 1 can left in my house.
Do you have one?
One. I remember I had to go in there with an open mind. I was like, you know what? I don't really like IPAs, but before I record with my buddy Ronnie, I gotta experience his place with a clear mind. So let me get rid of that. I hate the IPA shit. Let me get rid of it out of my mind. Let me walk into this establishment with that completely out of my mind. And I walk in, I open the doors, like I told you. I smell the fresh hops. I was just taken into this world that I wasn't used to. And I look around. There's greenery, beautiful. I don't know who's got the green thumb in there, but I just see all this stuff, the beautiful stuff, the concrete countertops, the beautiful wood tables where people were just bringing outside food that was allowed and they were eating it there, drinking a beautiful pint of the finest shit. And I'm just smelling it. I go a little bit to the back. I see the transparent glass where I could see Neko brewing a savage witch's brew in the back. I see the Autodidact on the back of the fucking... Right there when you sit at the bar stools, you see Autodidact with the proper Webster dictionary definition of Autodidact. I see the beautiful wooden tap handles, and I'm just observing. That's what I'm doing. And the one thing that I noticed about your brewery, as soon as I walked in, that blew my mind and knew that you were so in tune with your consumer that nobody else in the world that I've ever noticed knows. You have 4 bathrooms, buddy. When I saw the 4 doors for 4 bathrooms, I knew this guy cares about the consumer, or these guys rather, care about the consumer more than anyone on the planet, because that is such a crucial part of your tap room is you have 4 bathrooms. And I've been to your brewery twice so far, and I've never had to fucking wait. And do you know how much that fills my heart, Ron? Like, it fills my heart. It shows that you care about me. I could dump $500 at your brewery tomorrow and I wouldn't give a fuck because I knew it went to the right people. And that is something that when I go out to dinner and I buy a meal and I get the shit meal back, it is, you feel like you wasted money. When I go to your establishment and I see the care that you think about your consumer, and you told me personally, listen, I allow kids here, and it's not because we all have kids, because that's the easiest explanation. But your explanation was, I was coming in here and I was bringing my kids here because I had no choice, and they were running around. So I felt bad that my customers could come here, see me have my children run around, and they're not allowed to have their kids here. That made you feel a certain way. So you allowed that freedom, roam free, that you are tapped in and you really care about your customer. And there's a lot of businesses out there that are not on that level. And it started with the bathrooms. And that was my first thing. You had 4 bathrooms. That was a real conscious decision. And motherfuckers need to take notes, because that to me, seeing that was one of the first things I noticed, and I was blown away. That blew me away from the door, brother.
All right. Let me burst your bubble a little bit. The bathrooms are a legal requirement.
4 of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Based on our square footage, we would have preferred to have less, but we... So I already ruined it.
I just blew smoke for no reason.
I already ruined it. I'm sorry. I got to be honest. We would have preferred less because it does take up a fair amount of taproom space. The 2
it doesn't feel like that though.
I mean, when you saw it without the bathrooms in there was a lot more space. You know, you've only seen it with the bathrooms in there, which of course it has become. People have known us for that, which is interesting in its own right. They got so many bathrooms, and it's like, okay, cool. If people are appreciative of that, I guess the law that made us do that, we were like, okay, fair enough. You win this time, government. Like, all right, we made the bathrooms. Everybody's happy. It's cool. We needed, so the place used to be a tile store, which has basically zero requirement in terms of bathrooms because it's a retail location. And we were a change of use, which meant that like we have to bring it up to code to the most modern standards for the use that we were doing.
Interesting.
Which is
Okay.
a sort of taproom restaurant kind of vibe. So
All right.
if you move into a place that was a restaurant, you are not changing the use. So, and this is, I might be wrong about this, but my understanding of the law is like, because you're not changing the use of that establishment, you don't need to do all of this upfront heavy lifting to bring it up to code. Because it was a restaurant, you're making a restaurant there, blah, 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 you're good. Because we were changing the use, we had to bring it up to the most modern standards, which was, I can't remember the exact numbers, but basically our capacity meant that we needed 4 bathrooms. The one thing I was a huge stickler about was I wanted single person, gender non-specific bathrooms.
Okay.
And if we wanted to, we could have done, if we put like a urinal in one of the bathrooms, it would have counted as 2 bathrooms. So we could have done that. But I was like, no, if we need to make 4 restrooms, however they're made, I want 4 single user, lockable doors, all genders restrooms. That felt pretty important to me. I just wanted everybody to feel like, the space took care of them.
Yeah, totally.
So bursting your bubble there, I'm sorry about that. But it was a legal requirement. And if we end up doing the space next door, we need to do 2 more over there. So there will be a total of 6.
Wow. 6 of them, really?
You could pee everywhere.
Wow.
You'll be all set.
Insanity.
It's a lot of bathrooms. It feels like a lot of bathrooms. I'm like, the first thing I said was, I've been to all these breweries in New Jersey and other states. I'm like, they got 2 bathrooms. They're both, gender neutral bathrooms. There's 2 of them though.
Right.
And you're always waiting in line and this and that. And I was like, it feels like a waste for us to spend all this money on bathrooms. But the amount that it's been appreciated in the long run, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm good being wrong on that one. Fine. We got 4 bathrooms. Everybody have at
Dude, the first thing I thought when I was like, wow, these motherfuckers really give a fuck. It was a legal thing.
We're happy to have them now. People really appreciate the fact that they don't have to like wait in line.
I've never had to wait yet.
There's been days where people have to wait in line.
Well, when you got shows, yeah.
Yeah, it does get crowded enough where those 4 bathrooms put in the work. But for people to like appreciate that about us, I'm like, all right, cool. That's a weird win that I didn't think we'd get. But
think about if you only had 1 or 2.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I've been to places like that where you got to pay and you're waiting in line. Whatever.
Fucking sucks, dude.
So I'm happy to have that. But it wasn't us. I can't take credit for it.
Okay.
We built them, but they made us. So
I got it.
Everything else there, you mentioned it, plants. Shout out to Ronnie's wife, Gina. She has the most unbelievable green thumb I've ever seen. Like, plants have been brought to us on their deathbed. And there's practically a tree in the little lounge area that we have. When he came to us, it was like a withered, dying spirit. It was pathetic. And in like 2 months, this thing's like, we got to plant this outside. It's going to grow through the building now. It's huge.
Dude, I love it.
That's not me.
Dude, I love the fucking levitating, spinning fucking plants.
Oh, yeah, the air plants.
Love that shit, bro.
The levitating planters were me. I found those somewhere and I was like, we need these.
It's such a homey feel while still having some sort of like a touch of modernism. A touch. Mm-hmm. Not too much. A touch with a touch of this beautiful herbal nature of the natural plants, just like strategically planted around the establishment.
I mean, I remember when we were building out, we kind of talked as a group. We had a group chat with me, Ronnie, and both of our wives, just kind of like discussing design ideas. and we talked about plants a little bit, and Gina just ran with it. She has the most unbelievable green thumb. She's so talented with that stuff. I don't know how she does it. And she came back with like, I want these planters for the wall. They're these kind of like self-watering planters. So you kind of just fill the back and it's like a reservoir, and it'll like kind of keep the plants going throughout the week or whatever, however long it takes to come back to them. And she picked those. She picked a whole bunch. I mean, all of the plants, they're all her. She did a wonderful job with all of them. She continues to do a wonderful job with all of them. She comes through once a week with a whole bunch of bottles and
Ronnie's wife.
Yeah. And she waters
the other
everything.
Ronnie.
Yeah, I mean, thank gosh, because everyone's like, oh, I love the whole nature vibe. And I'm like, full disclosure, we would have killed all the nature in here if it was up to us because we don't know how to keep him alive. But Gina does it. The countertop bar we built ourselves, like everything in there.
That concrete savage, dude.
So good. I love that bar.
Oh, it's nice and cool to the touch.
Yeah. I've wanted a bar like that. I mean, even like at home, I thought about doing that in our kitchen. Like I love a concrete.
Oh, it's I don't know what sexy, it is. Dude.
There's something like industrial, but like almost natural about it. Like it just feels
cool to the touch. It's nice, man.
It's a pleasant.
I love it.
Yeah. And all of the pieces in there, like the build out of the whole space was so intense and so unlike anything Ronnie and I had ever done. Like I never built a business, and never mind the fact like building the business is like once we were open, how do we build a brewery that like that is a brewery that people care about, that they want to go to, whatever. So that was like, that was always kind of the thing that we focused on. But like physically building a brewery, we did everything we did on a as small of a budget as we could possibly do, because money was, it wasn't just free. Like we have bills to pay, we have loans to pay back and stuff. So we wanted to do it as effective as we possibly could. And so all of it ended up being stuff that like we basically built ourselves, or with Ronnie's dad, or with my dad, who, did so much work there. Like my dad has been building things for his entire life, like carpentry stuff.
Really?
So he was able to help us with everything.
Wow.
And was, gracious enough to do so. And it felt so, at the time, it felt so haphazard, like we had no idea what we were doing, and like there was no, it felt like there was no vision for the end. But like slowly but surely all the pieces kind of came together, and what we ultimately wanted kind of came out in the full build out, like clean, modern, plant life, home, warm, comfortable place to be. Like it feels like we got there. And when people come in, like what you just said, when people come in and what we intended comes through on the other end, and people experience that, I'm like, oh man, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing better. Like it's exactly what we wanted.
No, you conveyed the perfect message.
And it for the hell it went through to get there, for it to be that at the other end is like, oh man, thank God. Like that's amazing. That's what we want.
Insane, right?
I guess.
Legally speaking, how hard was it to get the brewery off the ground with licenses, permits, the whole nine? Because I know that is never an easy task with any establishment, let alone a brewery, to get off the ground.
It was hard. It was hard. I'm much like yourself, I'm a meticulous person, and I'm if there's something I want to do, I'm intensely focused on it. I had heard from other breweries, we're fortunate enough to have some friends in the industry that kind of like cut their teeth before we did, so we were able to kind of pick their brains and see what happened. We had heard that the process of getting licensed with the state is like a year at a minimum, sometimes more. I'm delighted that our process with the state took 5 months. Like we were just
Wow.
in and out. But it was because, you know, partly due to my own insanity, but also partly because all the people that told us about it, they're like, yeah, they're going to ask you for this. But you need to give them this, this, and this, and this at the same time. Like, give them all of it. Like, they're going to ask you for, you know, this document that you have notarized, but give them all your bank statements too before they ask, because they're going to go through the pile. They just have like a pile on their desk. Then they work their way through it. And if they come to yours and they're like, oh, it's missing this, they go, you're missing this. And then you just go back to the bottom of the pile until you give them the thing.
Wow.
So it's like, if you cut them off at the pass and your thing's already in their pile and they're like, oh, it's not missing this, I could just keep going.
Yeah.
It works you through the system quicker. So we were lucky enough that I bothered our guy at the state. His name's Scott. Shout out to Scott. He was very
Scotty
helpful.
Mnemonic.
I bugged him a lot. I called him all the time and I was like, do you need anything else? Do you need anything else? Do you need anything? And I was just, because I was like, the last thing I need is for us to start paying rent on this retail space and some weird little nuance at the state is holding us up. I'm like, no, that's going to be done.
Right.
It's going to be our fault that we're not open yet. It's not going to be the state's. We're going to finish that. So, you know, lo and behold, it did. It took us about a year to build it, but the state was done in about 5 months. And then the rest was, you know, there was some building code issues that we ran into. But it's all, I mean, in hindsight, anybody that's ever like built out a space will tell you the requirements to get across the finish line, the building department, any kind of legal department that you got to get through, any regulatory stuff. It's gonna hold you up.
Right.
Until it doesn't. Like, and you just get through it.
Yeah.
It's a slog, but you get there.
One thing that I absolutely love is the branding, the minimalist logo, and the nature forward design that that everything seems to rest on, right? It feels obviously really intentional. And I know you have a background in graphic design, so I'm curious, did you handle all the branding yourself? I'm assuming you definitely did. And did you come up with the overall concept of the brand and the name, the logo, incorporating your shared love of music with your other counterpart, Ron? Like, how did all this just come to be?
So we've done everything together. We have not sourced anybody. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but no, I don't think we've sourced anybody for any physical help with branding to date. That might change in the future. At some point, I could already feel it. Like the things are getting so busy where I'm like, okay, I got to be able to hand something off, and that might be one of the things that I need to just like, okay, you got to do this. We built it all together. All of it sort of happened independently of each other, but we were like, all right, like how do we bring all the pieces together? So like the music thing, the name itself is Autodidact, came from a song by the progressive metal band Between the Buried and Me called Autodidact. We picked that as a name, not knowing what it meant, just being like, that's a cool word. And then we figured out that it meant self-taught. And we're like, okay, it fits, so we might as well keep that name.
Right.
And then from there, we kind of just chose to name everything after songs, because it was like, on one hand, it's kind of lazy because it's like there's so much to choose from, and songs are, there's all of these artists are picking interesting names for their songs, and all we have to do is just pick artists that we like and pick interesting song names that they already picked out, and we have this like kind of built-in inspiration, which is cool. But it does give us a way to like I said, we were talking about earlier, and I might as well say again, it gives us a way to share our music with people. We have our cans, the little QR code on the cans. We'll do that. And then the logo it went through multiple iterations And people ask us about this all the time. This is the most detailed answer I'm ever going to give on it. So it doesn't mean anything. It's just somewhere between Blair Witch and season 1 of True Detective. I wanted a kind of cult feeling vibe.
It has it.
And the thing, season 1, True Detective, there's a scene where he sees the main killer. He's mowing the lawn outside of an abandoned school. And Russ Cole, Matthew McConaughey's character, goes into the school and he walks through this whole like abandoned classroom. And there's these sticks that are like arranged into pyramids and like other weird shapes just sitting all over the room. And he's just like, what is all this stuff? And I saw that. And I was like, I want something like that. And we thought about like, I wanted to have like an entryway, like a foyer in the building that had hanging from the roof, hundreds of our logos made out of sticks, just like hanging there. I still might do it someday if we find a space for it. But like, that was the original inspiration. And it was something about you've seen season 1 of True Detective.
That is the greatest season of all time, right. Let alone True Detective.
Right. So there's something in that moment. If you watch that scene, and it's impossible to go back and view it without knowing how the whole series ends. But like seeing that scene for the first time, I'm like, there's something like larger than life happening here. That's like weird. And I don't understand it. And that not understanding it aspect of it makes it so interesting where you're just like, I need to know everything about this. And of course the show does a beautiful job of just kind of like dangling that carrot where you're like, I don't know. I know this, I know that, whatever. And it just keeps it kind of hidden. But I was like, man, if you can capture that feeling of like, what is this in a logo, that's what I wanted.
So that's I would have never guessed. When I look at your logo, I think it's a person going like this.
Yeah, it's people think it's a tree, it's a hop, it's all kinds of. It's an A for Autodidact. Like people think all kinds of stuff about it, and it's like if we were called something else, we weren't Autodidact. That would have still been the logo. Like the logo, and I wanted to get to a point. Which, who knows, maybe someday, whatever. I wanted to get to a point where we don't even put Autodidact on the can anymore. It's just, there's this stamp and everyone's like, I know exactly what that is. And I want it to be like almost this cultish, religious kind of like,
dude, True Detective, the first season is the only season.
It's the only one.
Unbelievable.
I've heard the Alaska one is good. I haven't seen it, but.
Yeah, but dude, there's nothing like that.
You can't get back to that.
You can't doubt that Matthew McConaughey brilliance, brother. Wow. So that's really, I never had an idea of that.
So
Thank you for clarifying that.
If you can picture this logo made out of sticks, like tied together with rough twine, that's what I want ultimately. Like that's what I wanted it to be.
I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed that it was True Detective season 1.
Yeah.
And it's important that we say season 1.
And it's also, kind of Blair Witches, they have some kind of like vibes like that in there, but like definitely that exact scene in True Detective where he finds all the stick pyramids and whatever in the classroom.
Unreal.
It's like a 30-second scene in like the 4th episode. It's nothing. It's like throwaway. The whole intent of the scene is that they don't find the killer, the main like killer in the whole thing is mowing the lawn outside the school when they arrive there. And then he goes into the school and finds all this stuff. But the whole point of that scene is like at the end of the show, you reflect back like, oh, he was the guy mowing the lawn. Like, ugh. But the stuff in the school, I was like, what is this? This is so weird, and I want to know everything about it. Like that was how I felt watching it.
You never said this before?
No, I don't tell anybody.
Thank you for clarifying that.
People ask what it means, and I'm just like, What do you think it means?
Damn.
Because I don't want, part of it ruins, it's that man behind the curtain thing. It's like
the mystique.
It ruins the illusion of it, but that is what it is. I want people to just look at it and be like, what is that?
Well, I appreciate you finally sharing that, because that's so, coming from a person who loves that show, loves that season, is like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was obviously an inspirational show.
Wow. Oh, the best. As far as I got to ask you a question about the brewery. As far as like setting up the actual equipment within the brewery, did you guys do that shit yourselves? Because coming from a smaller home brewing setup, right? This looks like it would be insane to jump into head on, because it's vastly different.
Yeah. So this is one of those things that like makes us feel small, I guess, because a lot of brewers that start their own breweries, they are coming from working in a brewery. So they've seen behind the scenes, they know how like this, piece A connects to piece B and like how it all works. And like I said earlier, like we did our best to emulate that at home as much as we could. So we knew roughly this piece of equipment is going to want to connect to that one, and so on and so forth all the way through. But we had never done it, and we had never really been around it in a full-fledged commercial brewery. So when we did it, I mean, we were fortunate enough. We worked with a company called Alpha. They designed our brew house. They designed our fermenters and all that.
Okay.
And they were very good at giving us as much as we could, as much information as we needed to get the pieces off the ground. It still felt hellish trying to navigate, like, should we put this piece here? Are we going to, once we get these pieces set up, they're going to be like, have plumbing in between them that's like hard pipe that it would be a pain in the ass to uninstall and change.
Right.
So how do we pick the best spot for it, flying basically blind, so that 6 months from now we're not like, man, if this piece was just like 6 inches to the left, it would be so much more convenient for XYZ, whatever it is. So it was, like I said earlier, the other Ron's dad is a plumber, and he had done plumbing at a couple of breweries before. So he had some like, all right, you're going to want to do this, you're going to want to do that. And the guys at Alpha, the company that we bought it from, were super gracious to like help us, point us in the right direction. They sold us the equipment, so I guess they wanted to make sure it got up and running the way that they intended. But yeah, it was a daunting task, and one that like now, having been a part of a commercial brewery now, if I was to walk into somewhere else, I'd be like, oh yeah, you want to do this, you don't want to do that, you don't want to do this, you want to do that, whatever. Like I know now what I would avoid. Yeah. And there's certainly plenty of things that we did that I'm like, I wouldn't do that again. But like, now I know. But somebody else that worked at a commercial brewery and went out and started their own venture, they would have had that knowledge going into it, and they would have been able to like benefit from that. Where it's kind of one of those things that we feel like idiots because we're like, they're looking at us like, come on, you don't know this? Like,
well, it's a learning process.
I don't know, man. I'm just figuring it out.
I have a weird question for you. How often do the brewing tanks and fermenters need to be cleaned? I mean,
all the time.
And sanitized, because like it when you're like cooking and you're a chef, there's like an advantage for letting like a cast iron pan getting a quote unquote seasoning to it. Okay. Is there like, like a cast iron pan, is there any advantage to letting anything get a seasoning to it?
So broad answer for what I'm going to call clean beer, which a brewer would understand, and most people wouldn't. No, everything's got to be spotless.
Roger.
Nuked.
Okay.
You need to kill everything in those tanks and start from zero with the next beer.
Wow.
That being said, there are beers like you mentioned lambics, you mentioned some spontaneous stuff when we were talking earlier. those style of beers being put into barrels, being put into
stouts and shit.
Not stouts.
Not
Stouts you're going to want to be clean and go into clean barrels with some wiggle room there. But like you were talking about cool ships. And so a cool ship is a giant, doesn't necessarily need to be giant, but a large, flat, low surface area vessel that allows you to spread out. If I have, let's just say 100 gallons of wort, I could spread it out so it's like an inch deep across this vessel. And then I'm going to expose that preferably to like an open window, some brewers might question this, but preferably in the winter where wild yeast that exists in the air is going to be able to land in this vessel and begin to start to ferment this beer. So that's like, you're just totally infecting the beer with wild strains of yeast. When we use yeast, we're purchasing specific strains of yeast that we want to do a specific thing. A wild strain of yeast is everywhere. It's floating in the air. It's on flowers. It's on the ground. It's everywhere. They're all different strains. And if you were to put one of them in a beer and allow it to propagate to the point where it ferments a beer, you have no idea what it would produce. Like it's a wild strain.
Right.
The strains that you buy like to produce an IPA or to produce a lager or whatever, those are tried and true, known yeast genetic strains that they will do this. They will do X, Y, Z,
right,
whatever you set them out to do. So there are avenues through which you like kind of let a vessel develop its own character, I guess you would say, and produce wild beers through that. But for most beers that you're drinking, like an IPA or a lager or a stout or anything that like you would see on a usual tap system, those are hyper controlled, super clean vessels.
Wow.
You got to take care of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Most brewers will tell you that like 90% of brewing is cleaning.
Really?
Yeah. And it's like crazy chemicals.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there like a particular cleaning solution that's like imperative to use within cleaning these basins or barrels?
Yeah, so in our fermenters, there's a handful of cleaners we use. The primary one is it's a caustic. It's like a high alkaline cleaner. If you ever like, it's a high pH, so it's, neutral pH is 7.
Right.
Low pH is acidic stuff like, orange juice or whatever. High pH goes up to, I can't really think of a drink that you would drink that high, but like pH of 10, 11, 12, or even higher than that.
Okay.
They are, which you would never think. Like when I was a kid, it was like acid is like melt your skin off. But like stuff that becomes a base and becomes very alkaline is just as dangerous, if not more dangerous than acids are, which was always a weird thing to like learn over the years. So the high pH cleaners we use, like if you got them on your skin, it'll melt your skin off. It's heavy duty shit. So we use those first, and then we'll use a sanitizer, and like every 3 or 4 cleans, we'll use an acid cleaner too.
Wow.
Which would, a little hyper nerdy, I guess, but it passivates the stainless steel. So it just kind of forms like a oxidized layer on the inside of the stainless steel that just protects it longer.
Wow.
It's heavy duty, man. It's a lot.
Very extensive process.
It's a lot. It's dangerous chemical, like real,
I'm sure,
dangerous chemicals.
That's why I asked, because I would assume that it's very like crazy shit.
It's wild to the point where like we went to order it the first couple times, and I'm like, you're just gonna let me buy this stuff? Like, oh my god, like I'm just some idiot. Like you're just sending me the most dangerous shit.
Yeah, right.
Just gonna put that on a truck and bring it over
here. How far in advance do you guys plan releases, and like, how often are you creating new recipes?
So we need to be better at planning. For the first like year, maybe a little less than a year, but for the first while, it was just like, what do you want to brew this week? And we would just brew whatever.
Yeah.
And that's fun because it definitely gives you like an open-ended kind of, we're just going to do whatever we want. As we've grown, there's been the increased amount of like bars and restaurants that want to keep us on tap, or liquor stores that want to put us on a shelf and whatever. And they're like, we want this beer. Like, where's Daylily? We want Daylily. And so we're like, okay, we got to keep Daylily in the schedule always. So whenever we brew it, we got to have the next brew lined up. So we need to get to a point where we're like 2 months out on beers, and we're close to that. We're like,
you're getting there.
I could tell you pretty much what we're brewing through the end of April, with like maybe a little wiggle room for something surprising to come up if we wanted to. But that, like, I heard a quote from Jeff Bezos a while ago, and not to compare myself at all to Jeff Bezos, not even close, but he was talking about, somebody came up to him and said like, hey, nice job. Like, you guys had a good quarter last quarter. And he was like, I didn't know what he was talking about, because my brain was thinking about 4 quarters from now. Like, I was already in the next year in what I was working on. That like the present thing that just got accomplished, he's like, oh, we're still talking about that? Like that happened to me a year ago. Like, because I already got through what I needed to do for that piece.
Wow.
And you can imagine that, like, for something like Amazon, like,
makes total sense to me.
The person at the top of the food chain is living in a year from now. You know, they're worried about that. And it's like, you need to, you know, again, nothing like Amazon, but like, you do
doesn't
need
matter.
to think,
you can still resonate.
You need to be around the corner a little bit. You know, we released this beer today. Like, I'm not worried about that. I'm getting materials for the beer in a month from now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
Because this one's out. Like, and it's cool to be able to see it come out and see people enjoy it and whatever. And
right.
Obviously we all have a hand in that, but
of course
you quickly start to go like, oh, I can't be just like living here. I gotta be worried about the next thing. Cause if I'm just doing this, I'm like having a great, you know, time on a Friday on the beer we just released. I'm probably forgetting to do something that I should be doing and being irresponsible. And I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go do that.
You know, it's funny you say that, and I can resonate with that on a different level, because for those that are listening to this that don't know me, I'm a railroader. I'm a train conductor. And I get students often. I'll have them for 5 days the week. I'll get paid 4 hours straight time for each day. So I'll get 20 hours a week just to have them shadow me. And I tell them all the same thing. I tell them, being a conductor, for those that don't know what being a train conductor is, it's kind of hard to explain. People say like, oh, you're a train conductor. What do? You drive the train. First of all, no. That's the locomotive engineer who actually operates the train. Okay. The train conductor is the person who is in charge of the train. And there's a lot of things that are involved with that process. But the one thing that I say is to my students is, being a train conductor is a very mental process. You have to be able to multitask, and you have to be able to, you know, just be able to handle things at once in one sitting. So when I say that, I always tell all my students, I say, do you play billiards or pool? And most of them say, I've done it before, the whole 9. So the easiest comparison that I can say to them is, okay, what's of first importance when you're playing pool? And most of them will say, making the ball in the pocket, right? That's of second importance. The first importance of playing billiards is where your ball will end up after you make this shot.
Right.
because you have to always set yourself up for what's to
For the
come.
next shot.
So as a train conductor, without diving into that entire ethos of what it is to be a conductor, is you have to plan for what's coming ahead. What's the next interlocking?
Yeah.
Is the next station stop a high platform or not? How many cars can I fit at this station? Do I have an ADA passenger on that needs to get off at this? I mean, there's levels to it.
Sure.
So that's why I can really relate with. It's always thinking about what's coming ahead, not what's happening currently.
And
what's happening currently is of second importance.
And in terms of, maybe not in terms of billiards, but in terms of your job and a lot of our jobs, it's like you're worried about what's next. So the person that's here to experience it gets to enjoy now.
Right.
Or even, I mean, I guess it could extend for billiards, like watching it. If you're watching somebody play a great game of pool, like they're worried about X, Y, Z. So you could sit there and just go,
right,
this is cool. This is fun. I'm enjoying it.
There's levels though.
So all of that. And I've been on trains where they're, haphazard about it.
Oh, it's a fucking mess.
It's a mess. And you're just like, damn, what's stopping? Where are we? Can I get off in this car or not that car? Because it's a high platform, low platform. Like
right.
And it feels like they have no idea. That's important, man.
Yeah, it's tough because it takes a good conductor. There's a lot of variables there. And, I don't want to get into my company and who I work for, but it's in shambles. And,
this is my podcast now. Tell me all about it.
Nah, it's shot. One thing I want to talk about is Daylily, because Daylily is your hot seller. It's your staple, it's in your lineup. Mm-hmm. And we had a conversation that we kind of touched on a little bit when I saw you last, but I kind of refrained from engaging because I wanted to hear it for the first time on today.
Okay.
But you were hinting that there's a specific story on how you created Daylily. And what's the story behind crafting that gem that is a staple within the Autodidact lineup?
So the story of Daylily is a interesting one insofar as Ronnie came up with the recipe, and he came up with it while we were about to build out the brewery. So we were doing our best to, quick backstory, when COVID hit, that ramped our scale and production up a lot. Mostly because once a couple weeks went by in the COVID lockdown era, and we realized all right, I don't have COVID, you don't have COVID. Let's make some beer. We're not seeing anybody. We're leaving our house. Let's get in the garage. We'll make some beer. There's no way we can give each other COVID. We haven't seen another person. It's whatever. So we were brewing all the time, and that quickly propelled us forward towards opening the place. And then eventually we started building out once we settled on our location in Morris Plains and all of that. We started building out, and Ronnie came up with the recipe for Daylily. He's like, I want to make a pale ale. I want to do this. And I was
really?
Yeah. And it was, it wasn't an earth shattering recipe, but I was like, okay, cool. There's something interesting about that recipe. I like that. And he's like, I want to do it plain, simple Citra Mosaic. These are tried and true hops, but I want to do it this base. I was like, cool, that'll be cool. I hope it's cool. And I think he brewed it alone the first time. I don't know what was going on, but I wasn't able to be there. He brewed it, he kegged it. It eventually made its way over to the brewery, and we were both just like, this sucks. It's not good. And
really?
It's and I was like, I don't know, man, it kind of stinks. And he was just like, no, there's something here. And I'm like, okay. And we had nothing to lose at that point. We weren't open. It wasn't like we were putting on tap anywhere. We were still getting started building our place. But he was dead set. He's like, this is it. He's like, I might rework this or that, whatever. But this is the recipe. I want it to work. And I'm pretty sure the recipe is basically exactly what, scaled up to the brewery, commercial brewery scale. But I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same as what he originally set out to make. And, it is what it is now. He was right.
Wow.
Like, the execution might not have been there with the first run, maybe the second run, whatever. And even when we got open, we still it was like, I talk about this every now and then, but it's like, it's one of those weird things. It's like the recipe was there. We just weren't ready to make it. It's the right recipe in the right hands, but we weren't doing what the recipe wanted.
And it ended up being a class. Shout out to the other Ron, yo.
Yo, I mean,
wow.
He
dialed it up.
He's an uber nerd about all of the recipes, all of the hops, all the stuff.
I want to tug on his beard.
Tug on his beard, dude.
Give him a fresh tug next time I see him. I'll give him a fresh tug. You gonna let me tug, Ron? Ronnie? What does he like to be called? Ronnie? Ronald?
We're both.
Ronald McDonald?
It depends on who. Like you refer to me as Ronnie because you've known me forever.
Yeah,
but
forever, dude.
But I don't know. I go by Ron to most people, and then I always knew him as Ronnie. So when we were making the emails, I was like, "Are you cool being Ronnie?" He's like, "Yeah," and I made Ron,
so
and that
bizarre,
was it.
Dude.
That was it.
That's so bizarre.
But yeah, he wrote the recipe for Daylily, and he was adamant about it. He's like, "This is it," and I'm like, "All right," and I just let him.
Unreal, dude.
I was like, I'm not going to fight him on it. He feels strongly about it. There's a cool thing that the two of them turned out to be wrong in the end, but the writers of Game of Thrones, the show, D.B. Weiss and David Benioff, I think.
I never watched it because it got too much incest. I don't do the incest.
They do have a lot. There's a lot of that.
Too much.
I remember early on in some of the seasons, I would watch interviews of the two of them, and they would talk about they were interpreting somebody else's books, into the movies, or into the show,
right?
And they would every now and then they'd reach an impasse where they're like, I think we should do this, I think we should do that, and they were like, one of us always felt stronger about it than the other one.
Wow.
And we just made an agreement from the get-go that whoever feels more strongly and is more passionate about it, that person gets it. They get that win, and the other person's just got to back off. And, those shows ended up being pretty good. Later seasons, maybe not. But that was one of those moments where Ronnie's like, no, this is the recipe. And I'm like, all right, man.
That's it.
If you feel powerful about it, go ahead. And he's right. I mean, Daylily rules now. I didn't like Daylily for a long time. Yeah. It is the staple. There's
unreal.
Yeah. I mean, that's another one of those that restaurants reach out to us. I would like to get Daylily on tap. And I'm just like, I can't believe you're talking to us every time.
That's great though.
It is great. And I never mean for this to sound arrogant or conceited or anything like that. It's always these people reach out to I want to get Daylily on tap. I'm like, how did you find out about us? What is going on right now that you even want our beer? It's always the weirdest. It's forever humbling. It's
shout out to Ronnie, the other Ronnie.
And Ronnie crushed it. That recipe rules.
I'm going to see you Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm going to come give you a hug, baby.
Come in Tuesday. We're podcasting Tuesday.
Yeah?
Yeah, come in.
I'll be there. They don't want me there. It's going to be fucking savagery.
Be like, this is what you do?
Here's one question I got. So in the cannabis world, which is the same family as hops.
Yes.
Right? New strains are constantly developed through crossbreeding. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Since hops are in the same family, I assume similar experimentation happens through hop breeding.
Yep.
How often do hop varieties get introduced to the game? And do you like jumping on new ones before they, either right away or do you like to stay with solely stricken, proven hops?
A lot of them get introduced. A lot. They're constant. Right. Every year there's a new kind of crossbreed of this and that, lineage of this and, breeding, whatever. they're always kind of guilty until proven innocent, which is maybe the wrong way to look at it, but like we've played around with enough new hops before and felt like about it that like we're like, all right, we need to be a little more diligent about being sure of a hop being what we want it to be before we start introducing it to a beer. That's kind of like, I don't know. I don't mean for any of this to sound the wrong way, but sometimes it's like, now we have a brewery that's like operational. If we take a chance on something weird, it ultimately would reflect on us. It wouldn't reflect on the hop. And that's kind of a tough thing to do. You're like, I take a chance on your product that you made and I put it into my product. Well, it's like, well, people are only going to have my product,
Yeah, I get it.
With your thing in it. Like,
yeah.
So are they going to look at it and be like, this is clearly that hop's fault? Or are they going to be like, Autodidact stinks? And,
right.
I don't know how they're going to land on it, but my paranoid brain is always like, they're going to think Autodidact sucks.
Right.
So we got to be careful about what we.
So you got to be more strategic than the average bear.
That's how I feel about it. Maybe I'm wrong, but we've also like Mosaic, long before we arrived, but Mosaic is a famous case of they threw a bunch of hops into like one field to see if they would crossbreed at all, and they just kind of picked out the ones they liked the best. And Mosaic, which is a world-renowned, like really good hop now, was one of the ones that came out of just like random crossbreeding.
Really? And it's huge. Everybody uses them.
Yeah. And it was just like an unintended, we're going to just give it a shot and see how it comes across. So there's definitely wins that come out of that kind of, whatever. And they're always experimenting. There's always new ones. We've heard about a few this year that are coming, and we're like,
you want to try them or you don't know?
Yeah, we're going in on one of them with another brewery, Twin Elephant. Shout out to them.
Shout out Twin Elephant. Baby.
They got reached out to about like, hey, you want to try this hop? And they reached out to us and like, hey, you want to try it with us? And we're like, all right, we'll try a little bit of it.
I mean, there's something cool into being the first one to touch something. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
if it's gold, like you're the first
if
one.
If you were
there.
the first one to tap it, that's kind of dope.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're crossing a fine gray line. It's like, do I do it? Do I not? So I think, is there like a way to like macro tap into like touching stuff experimentally without having it like affect your lineup, or you know what I mean?
No, yeah. I mean, as you know, we do a lot of one-off beers. So if something is,
so that's when they would get introduced. It's like,
oh yeah, for sure. Like it's going to be
and if it speaks volumes, you're going to tap.
Yeah, maybe we bring that hop in more, and maybe we make like a flagship beer using sense. That kind of hop. But we do a lot of one-offs, and like I said, my paranoid kind of brain always goes towards if it's bad, people are going to be like, this is your fault, not the hop.
Right.
But maybe I'm wrong. At some point, maybe we'll get to a point where I feel comfortable saying people will understand this is not maybe our fault. You. That if this hop stinks, it's the hop, it's not us. But I don't feel like we're there yet. I still feel like they'll blame us, and maybe rightfully so.
Can you help put something in perspective to me? Roughly speaking, this is just for science, if you will. How much hops would go into something like I guess you would call it a macro lager, right? Like a Budweiser or something like that. In comparison to it, like a ABV triple IPA, like your Blood Dawn, right? Let's say. Percentage-wise or even conceptually, how big is the difference in the amount of hops included in either piece?
So the best way to speak about it is in terms of like pounds per barrel. A barrel of beer is 31 gallons.
Okay.
So most American breweries will measure their brewing capacity
per barrel
in barrels, right? So our brew house, the non-fermenter side of it, is capable of producing 7 barrels of beer at a time. So that's like your stove. I can make 7 barrels of beer on this stove. And then I put them in a fermenter. and do whatever. I would say pounds per barrel wise, like a traditional lager, be it a Budweiser. Well, Budweiser is technically an ale. You're probably talking about like maybe a pound per barrel, like small.
Of hops.
And it all depends on where you're putting it in the brew process, which is a little like inside baseball, but
Yeah, because there's like top fermenting, bottom fermenting, shit like that, right?
that's some of the yeast, right?
Right.
But you could put hops in the boil while you're boiling. You can whirlpool after you're boiling. That's a whole
Whirlpool?
Yeah.
Whirlpool?
A whirlpool, yeah.
You're fucking me up.
And then you can knock out onto hops if you wanted to, and then you could also dry hop, which happens on the fermenter side.
Dry hop?
So yeah, like boil hops, the best way I've always come to think about boil hops is you're putting hops in the boiling wort. You're, depending on how long they're in there, it's akin to burning something.
Okay.
So when you talk about like something with traditional IPA bitterness, that's where that comes from. You're taking those hops and you're burning them. Like, so you have almost, it's not the same, but I like to think of it this way as like burnt toast. It's kind of got that like bitter burnt flavor into it. That's what you're doing. And the longer it's in a boil, you're boiling for on average an hour. So if you put something in at 60 minutes, it's burning for 60 minutes. Whirlpool, again, breweries do this all differently, but many breweries will drop the temperature down lower than a boil so that you're literally spinning, you're making a whirlpool in there, and you're putting whatever hop you want in there, and you're at the lower temperature, you're not so much burning it, you're just pulling out oils and things that you want in the finished product, which will be just like aromatics, different flavor, like oils that are in the beer, all kinds of stuff in there. And then you can knocking out is when you're transferring from your boil kettle to your fermenter to ferment. You can knock out onto hops, so you already have hops preloaded in the fermenter, and that's going to bring what they call biotransfer kind of characteristics to the beer. So, like, without getting so nitty gritty about it, there's a million ways you could do this. Like, you could put hops here, you could put hops there, you could different amounts here and there.
Yeah.
So, like, I would imagine
a lot of science to it.
Yeah, and depending on what you're going for in the finished product, there's a lot of wiggle room to play around and see what you want. I would say for something like I don't know how they make Budweiser. I don't know the traditional recipe, but I would imagine it's mostly boil hops, and it's probably not a lot of them because it's not a very bitter beer. So you talk about noble hops, low alpha acid, just low volume, probably a pound per barrel, if that, in the boil, and then nothing else. Just let it ferment and package. Beer like Blood Dawn, or like one of our double IPAs or triple IPAs, whatever. Low amount of hops in the boil, some amount of hops in the whirlpool, a lot of hops in the dry hop.
Okay.
So like where they may be more front loaded, putting hops in the boil.
Interesting.
We are more like back end, putting hops in the
What a science. What a fucking science, dude. Yeah. It's complicated.
It's weird. The fun part is, if you talk to like a traditionalist brewer, they'll talk about anything hazy like it's like blasphemy. And rightfully so. For the longest time, it was like how clear, the measure of your ability as a brewer was how clear you can get your finished product, which they refer to as bright.
Really?
The brightness or clarity of your beer was like, if you could have this perfect crystal clear beer, like you were a good brewer.
So that haze is no good.
So if you had haze, it was like, you stink.
Wow.
But then somewhere along the line, I mean, New England IPAs and sort of American IPAs became this focal point because they broke convention, and then they were just really interesting to drink. And if you talk about like original New England IPAs, like Heady Topper is a good example of like an old school New England IPA where it had like haze to it. But if you and I had a Heady Topper next to one of these, it's like Heady Topper might as well be crystal clear.
Right.
Like the stuff that we're making now looks like milk. It's like
how the tables have turned, right?
It's crazy. And there are still brewers that are like, that's blasphemy. I will never make that.
Wow.
Fuck that shit. And then and it's weird because even brewing it, everything that you know about brewing conventions, you have to like kind of turn on its head.
Of course.
And just do the opposite.
Yeah.
And we've found the more that we push away from traditional brewing ideology, the better our hazy stuff has become on the other end. It's wild. It's like do the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do,
sick.
and it's good. It's weird.
That's fucking sick, dude.
It's cool. I mean, you know, I've never been one for like conventions. I'm always for trying new stuff.
Go against the grain.
Going against the grain, just like fuck it. If my dad thought that was cool, that shit sucks. Whatever. Fuck it. Like, and this entire style being as prominent as it is such a like nose up to the face of people that are into that traditional style. And I like it for that. To be fair, I love traditional styles. Every day I fall more and more in love with like clean lagers or like clean, you know, just like beers that go against this kind of great, you know, mold. But it is fun to just it's fun to produce both.
Of course.
I want to produce both. I don't want to ever feel like I'm shaking a stick at like some new thing that came along.
Yeah, of course.
Because somebody found it interesting. Why'd they find it interesting? I want to know, you know.
One thing that I was always curious about is what dictates the ABV level.
Okay. So ABV is pretty much just a direct result of the grain that went into it. So we talked about earlier the wort. Wort is what your finished product that comes out of the brew house goes into your fermenter and gets fermented by the yeast. The concentration of sugar in that wort.
Okay.
We measure a thing called gravity, which basically just tells us, like I said, the concentration of sugar in there. So when you're mashing a beer, the amount of grain that goes into that mash that grain will convert into sugar, and that sugar will in turn become your final wort that goes over to your fermenters. And ABV is basically a math equation between how much sugar you started with and how much sugar was fermented out by the yeast. And that difference is your alcohol.
Oh.
So, yeah, yeast basically eats sugar in the water, your wort, and converts it into alcohol and carbon dioxide.
Okay.
It's pretty much that simple, I guess.
So your can design is really iconic and cohesive with the overall vibe of like the tap room and, you know, the brand as a whole. I can walk into a store, honestly, and just look across the room. And if your 4-pack is sitting across the bay, I can honestly say, oh, that's a fucking Autodidact, 4-pack. And that, to me, is extraordinarily crucial with the branding process as a whole. Because you want to be able to iconically distinguish something from something else.
Sure.
And it's very hard to do. So, I grew up in the VHS era. So when I was a kid, you never forget cover art ever, especially if you were in the horror space. I loved horror movies. Mm-hmm. And you never forget certain horror covers. And then when you had porn movies and horror VHS, they all were in the big box VHS era. So you would see like these extra big, they were larger boxes than the normal VHS slipcases, like the Meta and the Media and stuff like that. So that stuff to me was like, it always stood out to me. And when I see your brand, when I see your can, like something like this is your new acid hologram, as anybody could see. You could see this shit, you know it. You got the white band on the bottom, the whole, like that's an Autodidact can. So how important was your can design to you and the other Ron personally? And what was it like to design that simplistic, minimalist can design for you guys?
It is the most important, period. Like, it is so important. I am, if nothing else, like graphic design wise, I never got to execute on it in my career outside of Autodidact, but package design is my favorite thing in the world.
Wow.
Period. I still have, and I'm sure you do, like you just mentioned a bunch. I still have DVDs, like special edition DVDs where like they went all out with the package design and made like a whole, I have a Fight Club DVD.
Oh, so
that
good
they
movie.
made it into like a, it was meant to look like a brick ransom note with like the cardboard,
So
or like
good.
the wrapping tied around it and the shoestring like tied,
Right.
like whatever.
Right.
It was, it's my favorite thing in the world. Package design is just another way, like, and for movies, it's a perfect thing. It's like, here's another way before you even watch the movie to take somebody into your world. And they're going to experience, you know, if they don't appreciate it, it's such a shame. But like,
Really?
if they do
Really?
appreciate it, they're like, I'm in Fight Club and I haven't even pulled the fucking DVD out of the
Exactly.
box yet. It's not, I'm here. I'm in it. I feel it. There's the picture of the soap there, like the pink soap. And
Trust me, I'm all in.
I love that. I love that stuff. I had one for The Matrix. I had one for, Fight Club. I think I have one for like Ocean's 11.
They don't make shit like they used to, man.
Dude, package design is so crucial.
I know, man.
I love it so much.
I know.
And so when we set out to like make a can design, the first thing I thought was like photography, because I had not seen any craft beer that used photography for labels. They all use, illustrations, and they're all wonderful illustrations. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking on anybody or their brand, but I was like, I want to do something different. This is it. Photography I hadn't seen anywhere. And I was like, I want it to be strictly nature, because I cared about nature. Ronnie cared about nature. Me and my wife, when we were dating, we would travel all across the country, and the entire point was land somewhere, go on a hike wherever you could, some mountains, some forest, some lake, whatever.
Right.
Go on a hike, and at the end of the day, we'd go to the brewery nearby. Wow. And we'd sit down, we'd have a beer, we'd have, what food truck would be there, we'd have tacos or pizza or whatever the thing was. We forged our relationship on that. Like, that was what we did. It meant everything to us. Like, that's just what it was. And we'd go to Arizona and we'd be hiking in Sedona and going to a brewery there, or in Phoenix and going to a brewery there. We went to Joshua Tree, like out in California. We went to Chicago, like, all around the country. Every city we went to, it was, where can we hike? Where can we get beer? And that was it. So the nature thing just felt important. And I want that to be important, because some of my favorite like moments with beer were like, we actually had some beer with us and we got to the end of a hike, we're on top of a mountain or we're near a cool like lake spot, and we had beer in our backpack, and we just crack a beer and we just sit there and like have a beer, and we just vibe in nature alone, like the two of us, and talk and,
Taste the hops, bring it all in.
Just bring it all in. Like, that was the best. And then, you think about, this is like super nerd, whatever. But I'm like, you try and talk about art for cans, like Earth provides everything. I have found, we've done 150 beers to date, I think, if not more than that, canned with different labels. And I'm still nowhere near running out of concepts from Earth.
Wow.
Like this mountain, this desert, this forest, this angle, this light, this whatever. Like there's so much to go off of just using Earth as your canvas. Just like, that's it. I just want Earth.
It's limitless.
It's limitless. There's so much we can do. So I'm like, all right, that's it forever. And like, so, okay, so we're going to use that. And then from a brand and like design standpoint, I always felt frustrated. Again, this is not like poking fun at anybody else or belittling what they've done, but I always felt frustrated buying craft beer in stores. I was like, you know, you'd grab the can, like, oh, this is kind of cool artwork, whatever. And you look at it and you're like, I can't even figure out who made this, or like, what's the beer? What kind of style is it? Like, where's the ABV on it? Like, I'm looking for something light. I'm going to a barbecue. I don't want a 9% triple IPA or like whatever. I just want something. And it was like hard to figure it out. And I'm like, okay, I want all of our stuff top to bottom from the front of that can. You don't need any of the information anywhere else other than the front. Here's our logo in the middle. If you know who we are, then you know our logo. Here's the name of the beer. Here's the style. Here's the ABV. That's it. Like, and it's always the same. There's never a doubt.
Right.
So if you're going to the store and you're looking for Daylily, you're going to see that like red can from across the room.
It's iconic.
I hope so. I mean, that's the goal. So you'll see Daylily. And if you don't see Daylily, but maybe you see the logo from across the room because that's up there and is prominent in front and center, then you go, okay, they have Autodidact and I like Autodidact. Let me see what it is. And then all I have to do is just go, logo, here's what it is. Here's the style. Here's the ABV, whatever. Like I can just, I don't need to twist the can. I don't even need to touch it. As long as it's centered and I can see the logo, I can see everything else. That's all I need to know. And that's important. Dude, the amount of, there are industries behind product design for a grocery store shelf or like it's a crazy amount of detail that goes into that industry. My sister worked for a company that did it. And like, she would tell me some of the stuff they would do for just like marketing materials to make a little station at the end of the aisle, or like the amount of money that would go into just buying a better space on the shelf. It's like, okay, so there's like minds that are dedicated to this. It's like, okay, well,
it's insane.
It's crazy. So it's like, okay, we can bootstrap some of that and make a design that our label appears on a shelf in a way that if you're familiar with us at all, photographic background, logo front and center, here's the name of the beer, here's the style of the beer, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's all right there in front of you.
Right.
And you can make your decision there if you want to buy it or not. But like, I want to at least make it easy for you to see that it's us. And hopefully that helps. And you choose to buy it.
Right.
It'd be great.
What's interesting is that craft breweries are so popular nowadays. I mean, they've always been kind of like niche and popular in their own right? Mm-hmm. But there's always places that rise to the top in that hype, if you will, quote unquote. And, stuff like Troon, for instance, they're a powerhouse amongst other breweries. And, what do you think defines a highly sought after brewery, and what do you think they're doing different to differentiate themselves from the average bear and, doing stuff like what your brewery is doing, for instance? What do you think differentiates these special scenarios from other places?
Well, first I would say shout out to Alex at Troon. That's
the guy, right?
He's got the absolute stranglehold on the answer to that question. So he's got it. He's got that market figured out for sure. He's doing great at it, and rightfully so. His beers are wonderful. He makes, and I know him from a limited perspective, but everything I've ever known about him and everything I've ever heard about him is like, he is so meticulously focused on like, I'm going to source vanilla beans from like this one specific spot in this one specific.
Oh, he's like that.
I want this exact thing. I'm going to get a ton of them because I want to put it all in this one beer and just like see what happens. Like he's so no corners cut ever. As far as I know, he might be able to speak to that better than me. Maybe he's cut a corner or two, but he's so meticulous about his craft that like he's definitely earned what he is. And he is very sought after, very well made, great beer.
Right.
For us, it's like I want to walk a line between having really great beer readily available and really great beer that you might have missed. That's kind of our business model. And so you take something like Daylily or Usurper, like some of our more flagship staple beers. If I had it my way, I want those beers made in-house by us. I want them available everywhere you go so that if you're going to a barbecue or you're going to, going out to dinner and you want to grab a 4-pack of something that, like we just talked about, you go into the liquor store, you see it from across the aisle, you're like, oh, there's Autodidact. I want that. I'm going to bring it with me. So that's the hope for a beer like that. And then the second turn of that, which is sort of more the Alex, Troon model, is I want beers that are sought after, that are like interesting one-offs. You're like, if you're a nerd about this stuff, come get this one.
Right.
Because it's here until it's not. And then we're probably never going to make it again. Which sometimes it's like, we choose not to make it again. But other times it's like the hops that we have, like shade trees that we had here today, the hops that we have in that beer, we're not going to get again. Like, so that beer is a one-off because it has to be. There's no other choice. We won't be able to make it again.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where those are the two things that I want to just push into. I want it to be, if you want a staple that you can rely on, I want to have beers for you there. And if you want a weird one-off beer, I want you to be able to come to us and get those beers there.
Right.
And that's how I feel about it.
One thing that I find interesting is collaborations within breweries.
Mm-hmm.
I love that shit. I'm curious how that process comes about because, do you go to the brewery? Do you make it together? Is the recipe rather formulated by bouncing ideas back and forth? Or, is one of the breweries, saying, I'll fucking actually process it. We make, what is the process of collaborating with another brewery?
So like the tried and true example is you get two breweries together, you each make a beer that you serve, in your respective locations, and you kind of benefit off of promoting each other's businesses.
Right.
So behind the scenes, what that means is like, you chat with them. We talk about, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, all right, we're going to make a IPA today. What are you guys doing with your IPAs? Here's what we're doing with our IPAs. Are there any cool hops that you've been playing with lately? Like, we've been really liking these. Oh, you've been really liking those. Like, all right, maybe we try and, form something with the two of them. Occasionally we'll buy hops off each other, but if for the most part they're readily available, so I'll go out and source that one hop that you've been using that you really like. You go out and grab the one that I like, and you basically just either work together on a singular recipe that both breweries make individually, and if you can happen to make it to each other's brew days for it, great. So a lot of times that doesn't happen, and unfortunately, that's like I'm sure that's a disappointment to people hearing it, but it's also a disappointment to us. It's like, I would love to go to every collaboration we've ever done, but like we just did one with a brewery in Quebec City, and I'm like, there's no way I'm getting up there. I can't get away for like more than 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So we were never going to make it up to them. I know they were trying to come to us for our end of it. And they were like, we can't make it. And it's like, yeah, man, I get it. We're all busy. But we collaborate on the recipe and we brew it. And we talk about like names and, you know, just the whole, as much as we could physically do together, we can.
Right.
But yeah, it becomes an art form in like, how do we cross promote each other? How do we help each other out? We both like each other. Let me introduce you to my market. You introduce me to your market.
Right,
blah, blah, blah.
right.
Like, just get our names out there, help each other.
Yeah. Another thing that's special about a craft brewer or a micro brewery is the freshness of being able to walk into the brewery and smell the hops in the air. Like I told you before, like that's such a special scenario that can't happen when you go to a liquor store and buy a fucking 4-pack. And it just doesn't happen. Something that's removed from that liquor store experience. So would you agree that that's possibly the best part of having a brewery and owning a taproom is the being able to experience the freshness and the greenness, if you will, live, direct, and like on time?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's why we made our space the way that it is. Like, that's why we wanted it to be
right,
as welcoming and fun and inviting as it is. Like, the point is to go there. The point is that. The hope is, you know, we obviously love all of our wholesale accounts, our bars and restaurants that we work with and the liquor stores and whatever. But the point is that, like, I hope that if you have our beer somewhere, wherever it is, you're like, I'd like to go there. Right. And we think about that. We like all of that. We think about all of that. It is being in our space, having our beer with the music that we are playing and the people that we have there and like whatever. That's the penultimate like autodidact experience. That's what we want. If you want to drink it elsewhere, you don't ever want to come to the brewery, like, that's great. I hope you enjoy it, whatever. But like, I feel like you're missing out if you're not doing the full thing. That's it.
Totally.
Full stop.
100%. What's funny is all of your beers are song or album names, like the brewery itself. Autodidact is a Between the Buried and Me fucking song, right? Essentially.
Yep.
Was that intentional from the get-go, being that, you know, you and Ron, the other Ron's, strong connection to music, or was this an idea that unraveled, you know, along the lines of planning things out?
It's sort of evolved over time. We were homebrewing. One of the first beers we made was it was all Australian hops. And Ronnie called it Aus to Mouth. And as funny as it was,
Holy shit. Awesome.
as great as that beer was, I was like, yo, we can't do this.
I can't wait to see him soon. Austin Mouth.
Ask him about Austin Mouth. He'll tell you all about it. It's the temptation is always there for it to be non-serious and to be a joke. And we come up with such dumb jokes. Like, we have so many beer names and stupid things that we can make that are dumb and off-brand and funny.
Yeah.
Funny in their own right, whatever. But every one of them like kind of just chips away at this thing that like we work so hard to make.
Austin Mouth.
Like Austin
So
Mouth.
good.
And when he
So
made that, he'll tell you the story. It was either me or Kyle who was with us at the time that was like, yo, we can't do that. It's gotta be, we have to have a brand. It has to be real.
Right.
Because at the time, like, we talked about it there were so many breweries that we knew at the time that were just like not serious. They just didn't have a good, whatever brand. Their brand wasn't great. And we were like, no, we have to lean into that. We have to care about that. Because some of the breweries that we really liked, you could sit there and be like, oh, their beer's better, their beer's this bad. Like you could draw a line. Like every single brewery we really cared about had fantastic branding. They were just like clean, presentable. They had a concise message. They were just like, we know who we are. This is what it is. And it felt, maybe I'm being like hypercritical with that, but like it felt like a lot of the breweries that just kind of were like, oh, whatever. They just didn't have that part figured out. And maybe that might be disconnected. Those might be two like disparate things that don't relate to each other, but it felt related to us. It was like weird that we don't feel a strong connection to this brewery that doesn't feel a strong connection to anything. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
And then weird that we feel kind of passionate about this one brewery that has a very clean, consistent message that they're like, this is what we're doing. And I was like, okay, so we're going to do that. And like very quickly a beer like Austin Mouth, we're like, no, you can't make that. So the songs thing kind of became like there must be other breweries that do this. I can't imagine that there aren't, but like, we were like, that's a cool thing to hang your hat on. And people come in, they go, all your beers are named after songs? We're like, yeah.
Or albums.
Or even lyrics and songs. There's a couple that are just like a lyric in a song or two. That's like people grab onto it. And they immediately grab. They're like, that's so cool. Like, what song? What song is this? What band is that? And usually there's some like obscure metal band. So
yeah,
we tell them and they're just like, well, I've never heard of that. And we're like, all right, well.
I mean, Low Country, I knew Envy on the Coast.
Envy on the Coast, dude. Long Island band, forever. Dude. Like, Low Country rules.
Fuck yeah, dude.
That's a great album.
Fire.
Unbelievable album.
I'm more of a Sugar Skull guy, but
I really like Sugar Skulls.
Fire.
I feel like, I don't know a ton about that band, but it felt like Low Country was like, they were like, this is the album we wanted to make. And like Sugar Skulls felt a little more like our producer wanted to make that. I love both of those albums. But
Nick Del Virginia loves Low Country.
Nick's who turned me on to it. Shout out to Nick, man.
I'm about to interview his brother. His brother's an interesting guy, bro.
You're bringing Lewis on?
Yeah.
That rules.
That dude's sick, dude.
He's the best.
His little brother's sick.
Lewis is, I haven't seen Lewis.
I never met him.
You never met him?
He just follows me. I follow him, and I've been watching him from afar, and I'm like, yo, this guy's an interesting guy, bro.
Lewis is good people.
He's younger.
Way
obviously.
younger. Yeah, I mean, Nick was younger than us, and Lewis is probably 4 years younger than Nick or something like that.
Love Nick, dude.
Yeah, Nick rules.
They're both good dudes, bro.
Good people.
Yeah, fire.
What's up?
Fire.
But yeah, so we do the song stuff, and it's cool to do it that way. And now we're, it feels like a little bit like we're kind of trapped in that, but also it's like, there's no end of songs to choose from. Like we could just.
Totally.
And we don't limit ourselves. Like usually they're mostly, metal or like rock bands that we know, but like, I don't know. We have a handful of stuff that are named after like, we did a beer called Call on Me, the Eric Pride song. Like,
wow.
Like deep, electro house, whatever. Like
music's music.
Music's music, man.
Wow. I love the parallels between music and brewing. And I've personally drew a lot of these parallels, and especially the idea of happy accidents, quote unquote.
Okay.
Now, in music, sometimes a mistake happens when, you're making music and it ends up creating the best part of a song. For instance, like Cher, that song, Believe. Do you believe in life after that whole shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned this in other podcasts, but that was an accident. That was an auto-tune accident. Auto-tune originally was used to correct the vocals so it sounds clean, right? But they used it stylistically in that song, and it was originally intended as an accident, and then it ended up sounding good, so they used it, and that became the biggest fucking hit, imaginable.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, when I was thinking about talking about brewing, and I'm thinking about different parallels in different industries and how they can relate to brewing, music, especially with your industry, because you draw a lot of personal parallels with music, and you name your brews after it, the whole nine. So I started thinking more in that field. I'm like music, brewing. I'm like really sitting here generating that whole vibration. And, I could imagine that when you're crafting a recipe or something along the lines of that, when you're making a new brew, that an accident could happen where you put too much of this hops or you put the temperature too high in this, where it could happen where you're like, oh shit, this actually works. Have you ever had one of those quote unquote happy accidents when you were crafting a recipe that it ended up working for you ultimately?
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely had a few beers that went in a direction that we didn't expect them to, or turned out better or worse than we thought they would, based on the inputs. Sometimes they're happy accidents. A lot of times there's not happy accidents. Like we've had a handful of beers that were just like, this ain't it, and we just let it go.
Yeah,
which happens. That is forever the fun experiment about it. Like you're constantly just surprised by stuff that happens. Like, and some of it, when you talk about happy accidents, most of the time that's due to like negligence. Like, oh, I forgot to change the temperature at this point, or I forgot to pitch whatever, or I forgot to put that in there, or whatever. And we're like, all right, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right. And there's been a few of those that have been pretty cool to see along the way. Yeah, there's definitely been a few of those. Maybe less, now that I'm thinking about it, less happy accidents.
Yeah.
More unfortunate accidents, but you definitely get a few. It's most of the time there is a handful, like with brewing. It's funny you mentioned the share thing, because I always think about a System of a Down thing, Chop Suey. That song?
Fire.
The whole bridge of that, where he's like, Father, into your hands I commit, whatever. Rick Rubin talks about Serge didn't have lyrics for that part. So Rick Rubin's just like, just go pick a book off that shelf and just read it into the microphone. And he just opened to a random page and read the first thing. And that was what the bridge of that song is. And it's like iconic, that
shit is magical.
It's magical. It's like the perfect happy accident.
That's what I'm saying.
Rick Rubin's whole career is just like, yeah, we just stumbled into that. And it's just like, oh my God, how did you manage this? But that's
what I'm saying.
He's a genius. Yeah, I wish I had more cool, happy accidents. Most of the time, they're just more panic nightmares, but there's definitely a few. We've definitely learned a few things. I think with our lagers specifically, I could say that there's been a few that like, oh, that kind of worked. Like, I didn't expect that to work the way it did.
Right.
We left this in a tank for a little too long, or we moved it a little too slow or whatever, and it was like, oh, it kind of played out nice, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's always a learning curve. I never know.
Of course. I got a loaded question for you right now.
God.
So, one parallel, because I like to draw them, one parallel between music and beer is, often that music reflects the era that it was created in. Okay? Stylistically, sonically, even politically. This stuff there's a lot of comparisons. And, craft beer kind of seems to go through similar waves or movements within things of that nature. For example, there was a huge big movement within the heady topper era. right? That was like the most desirable fucking beer of all time, this and that. You know, and then there was the heavily fruited sour era that took the world by storm, you know, shit like that. So I have a question for you. Looking at the 5 years or the last 5 years or so, what trend or movement in brewing do you think that best reflects the current era, and where do you see the industry as a whole moving in the near future? It's loaded. It's a fucking loaded question. You know what I mean?
I see. It's such a fun question because I've heard so many people say so many different things, and I've read like articles and brewers talking about this is, you know, it's like, you remember seeing articles like is this the iPod killer?
Yeah.
Is this the PlayStation killer? Is this the Xbox killer?
Right.
And they never are. Whatever the thing is that intends on killing the de facto thing, it never does it. It never does it. There was no iPod killer. The only iPod killer was the iPhone, which was just an iPod in a different format. Like, and it was still Apple. Like, so I don't see hazy IPAs going anywhere. I think people love them. I think they've reached what I would argue is like a fever pitch where, like, I don't know how much further they can go. Like, they are at their most hazy and at their most intense. I might be wrong about that. Somebody might come along and do it in a way that just pushes it that much further, and credit to them if they do. I don't see that changing that much. I still see a marketplace for those kinds of beer. And I, like, every day it feels like there's our usual crowd of people that come in that know that style of beer and that love it. But then there's somebody like you that's like, I've never had a hazy IPA that I liked.
Right.
But I like this one. And so there's always a new person being like brought into the fold. You know what I mean? That being said, I think as it goes on, I think pulling back a little bit to more subtle beers. Like, I see people appreciating lagers more. Like, Sean is a perfect example. He's like, you know, he gets enthusiastic about some of our lagers, and I'm like, man, you were a haze boy through and through. You were going to Troon pickups. You were doing all this stuff.
Right.
And you're coming here and you're picking up a case of Journey's End. You're picking up a case of Bouquet, whatever it is. I love seeing that. I love seeing that Sean, as tried and true as he is on this style of beer, that he's willing to like experiment a little bit and like push himself into new avenues. I love that. And I hope that more people follow that suit, because I think there's more interesting beers. Right. Not more interesting. I think there are other interesting beers out there. And Ronnie and I talked a little bit, literally this week, about drawing a line in the sand and saying, like, here's these hyper hazy beers. We're going to call them what a lot of people already call them, which is a hop saturated ale. We're going to just push those over here. And then we're going to do, maybe, this is not set in stone yet, so I might be speaking out of turn, but we might do more traditional New England IPAs, a la Heady Topper, a la main lunch, main dinner.
Right.
Those style of beers that are hazy, but they're not overwrought with it as well. To kind of have two, because I miss that style. I'm at this point in my life in craft beer that I'm old school enough that I'm like, where this came from, I miss that a little bit, because we've gone way past that point. I would like to get back to those styles a little bit, and it would be cool to be able to make them and do them well, which, you know, I hope we can do. but maintain this kind of like hyper hazy vibe that we've been doing.
Right.
So in the future, I would personally like to see more lagers, a little more like traditional IPA styles, while maintaining this like this stuff, which I don't think is going anywhere. I think people are in that for the long haul.
I agree.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm very into fragrances. That's like my thing, right? And I've noticed again a lot of parallels that I can draw between the two worlds. And, creating a fragrance formula feels very similar to creating a beer recipe. Different hops giving different, notes, the same aroma chemicals or molecules that do for fragrances. Mm-hmm. These are kind of like two worlds of the same, and even things like, let's say, barrel aging stouts. And, they remind me of how fragrance oils, have to macerate or mature in barrels before they actually release to the public. So it's all like, since they're liquid-based worlds, they all kind of similarly, kind of coexist. And in perfumery, there's also, a big distinction between raw materials and synthetics. Mm-hmm. Huge. That's like the biggest thing when you got like, for instance, Paco Rabanne, 1 million, Phantom, like all these fragrances that Paco Rabanne comes out with. They're cheap, they're great formulas, but when you smell them, they're very synthetic. Mm. And you could really depict them from the Boudicca de Victorious and Creeds and things of that nature, or Maison Francois Kurkdjian, because these things are very... they use a lot of heavy naturals and things like that. And you could smell the difference immediately upon smelling them. So the things that I'm concerned about is like, when it comes to comparing a parallel between fragrance and your world, I'm assuming that when it comes to certain materials like yeasts and things like that there's probably synthetics that are being created to emulate certain flavor profiles, things like that. So in perfumery, there's a big distinction between the two. In your world, is there a lot of differences between synthetic yeasts and regular yeasts, wild yeasts, if you will? And how are they viewed in the beer world in comparison?
I think the best thing to talk about in terms of synthetics is hops. And I think the perfect analogy I can make is earlier on in this conversation, we talked about Ronnie and I, when we picked out Citra Mosaic hops to contract. There are companies now that make synthetic oil compounds of Citra, of Mosaic, of Strata, of Simcoe, of all these different hop varieties.
Really?
Yeah, and it's like literally you get a vial, it's like 8 ounces or whatever it is, it's an oil, and it's just that hops oil, right? But if you think about the exercise that we did, we sat down with 5 different lots of Citra. And each one of those lots were from a different farm or a different field on the same farm under different conditions. It's all Citra. It's the same base genome planted in the ground and grown. But they all grew under different circumstances, even if they're on the same farm, slightly different circumstances from their neighbor. They got more sun, they got more water, they got more air, they got more whatever. And we're sitting there, taking a handful of them, rubbing them in our hands and smelling them. And, this one's a little more of this. Okay, try that one. This one's a little more of that. We like this one. This one's going to be the one we're going to put in Daylily. Well, you get a vial of oil in the mail. Where'd that come from? What is it? Did it grow somewhere? Did somebody make it in a lab?
So weird.
You know, is there genetic or noticeable, appreciable differences between which petri dish this grew in? Like,
right.
I don't know. It's the same. There's nothing. It's just total edges blown off. This is Citra. And look, I don't know. Like we experiment with some of that stuff and we play around with it in a few of our beers and occasionally maybe it's cool. But like, you know, we smelled the plants from the soil and noticed the same plant grown in different places. This one's better. And we bought that one.
Do you think a lot of breweries deal with the synthetic stuff?
I think you can. I think, you know, I wouldn't discredit anybody for like playing around with it. There's a handful of companies that do it now and they make interesting stuff. That's no shot to them. And it's more like we are experiencing those hops or those compounds, whatever it is, we're experiencing the raw format. Like,
right.
I'm smelling the hops. That's
right.
it. Once those hops go through the process and are in the finished product, can you really tell the things that I picked out versus somebody else? Like, I feel like I can, but I don't know. I'm a lunatic. Like, who the hell knows what I think? Like, you know, for real, like, I'm so close to this that it's like, for me to assume that somebody else is like, yeah, somebody's going to really appreciate the hops we picked out for daily, or like we could have just gotten some oils. I don't know. I hope they do. I hope they care. I hope it comes through. And I'm not against using like oils or compounds in the places where it feels like they are meant to shine. But like,
it's interesting to think about because there's a lot of possibilities. And that's when I dove in this beer world, I'm like, oh, you know, I drew parallels from the fragrance community that I'm heavily invested in. I'm like, there's 100% different synthetic compounds in the brewery world. And I'm like, is one better than the other? Because I can smell the difference when I spray something. I know people can smell or taste the difference when they drink something.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I was curious.
It's weird to think about. So like when you first mentioned yeast, I wouldn't think about it there. Like wild yeast is wild yeast. And you should definitely, you know, if you find a place that makes spontaneous ales that are done well, like definitely give them a try because they're cool. They're a cool beer. And those beers are so labor intensive. You're talking about like at least
6 months of work, right?
to a year.
Like 6 months.
To make one beer. And it's not, you know, it's not necessarily work. Don't get me wrong. They're not like slaving over it every day. They put it in a vessel.
Doesn't matter. You're waiting.
But it just takes forever to get there.
Yeah, right.
It takes forever to make beer. Like the yeast has just got to slowly churn through it. The yeast that we buy that's like purpose built for the thing that we do, it's just these manufacturers have narrowed down a single strain and they're like, if you order this yeast, you're getting this yeast. You're not getting some weird wild strains. You're not getting multiple strains. You're getting this one. And they are able to capture, propagate, and like keep going a single strain of yeast. It's very good at a particular kind of beer or job, whatever it is. So that's a little different than, I mean, I guess, you know, some people might say it's not different, but I think it's a little bit different than like a synthetic hop compound or what have you.
Right.
Because the hops are the only one I've ever seen that were like you could really mess around with some like laboratory based stuff, and it comes close to emulating this stuff. And there's reasons to use it. You know, we talked about the plant matter, the physical plant matter, even in those pellets. When you put that in a beer, it's going to absorb beer and you're going to get a lot of waste as a result of that. So if you have this like hyper concentrated, this is just the stuff that I want out of that plant matter in this little vial of oil. It's like, and it's zero waste. It's not even zero waste. It's technically, you're gaining more liquid because you're literally adding liquid to the tank. it's like, it's hard to shake a stick at that. Like, you're going to get more bang for your buck as a brewer, and you'll get like the finished product. You'll be able to package more kegs, more cans, whatever, and be able to sell more off of a single tank, which is great. You know, helps you keep the lights on. But it's not like, I've not been impressed with any of this to the point where I'm like, this is a total replacement for literal hops.
Okay. Cool.
Similar to you, I guess, where you're like, I could tell the synthetic shit from the real shit. And
oh, you can, it's 100%. Like, I was just curious. I knew, like I said, I drew parallels and I knew there was like significant differences and a lot of similarities between the two. I mean, one of my favorite things about personally your brewery is all the events you have there. You got trivia night, you got vinyl night, and you got a lot of shows that take place, you know, in your place. It feels like this wonderful social hub and a community gathering place, right? Insane. What's it like for you and your partner, the other Ron, to see that community form and grow around something that you guys personally built yourselves?
I mean, you can't put words to it. I think we said it in this conversation. I know we've talked about it previously, but it's like every single person that walks in there is like, it's unbelievable. They chose to come there. They chose to come hang out at this weird, kitschy place that we built. You can't put a value to that. Like, it's just unbelievable.
No way.
And if I ever get to a point in my career here that I feel like I lost sight of that, I need to stop. I need to just get out, because that's the point. That's the whole point. It's like, you're coming here, you're sitting down, you're having a beer, you're choosing to spend your money with us. If you ever lose sight of that, like, you've lost it. That's it.
Right.
That's the whole reason. Vinyl night was a sort of brainchild. I don't even think they realize this, but like, there's a brewery down in South Jersey, Icarus, that used to just play vinyls. They used to just play vinyls for their speakers, through their speakers, for one reason or another. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we ever get this thing off the ground, to just let people bring in their own and we'll play those. And it's like, it's a little too much to do that 24/7, like every time you're open, but we're like, if we just dedicate a night to it, everybody bring in your vinyl, put them in the
Wednesday
nights at 5, I think we started. Put them in the box, put them in the queue, and we'll play whatever you want. You know, one side of your record.
Right.
And, you know, your boy Jim's there. First thing every Wednesday, he's got a new
Jimmy Pizzillo.
He's got a Led Zeppelin or like
he's a savage,
Black Sabbath album ready to rip.
Real records.
Real. Like, he gets like old shit.
He's
like,
fucking Jimmy's a real deal, bro.
And he's like, I just got this. I had it flown in from like Oregon. It was at a record store somewhere out there. Like,
savage,
it's got an imperfection like halfway through the second song, and it like skips a couple times. Like, it's like,
he's the best, dude.
He's got them. And that's grown into like a cool little thing. Trivia night's like kind of a little more, you know, that's a little more mainstream. A lot of people do that, but like, even still, it's grown into its own little like pocket kind of universe there, where like there's a crowd that shows up on Thursdays that just is not there for the rest of the week.
I love it. I gotta go one day. Maybe this week. Well, maybe Tuesday.
And it's like the same
Patty's.
folks every week. I'm like, man, you must love questions. Just showing up for the questions.
Are they wild? Are they fucking super crazy questions?
They are. I mean, it's like that general knowledge trivia goes everywhere.
Wow.
You can't lock it down. It just goes all over the place.
Jesus Christ.
And then, you know, the shows and stuff. We like our, like, Saturday afternoons, we have a band in there or a single artist in there. Saturdays are kind of our like German beer garden day, where, you know, we talked about families earlier.
Right.
There's a big thing for us was always the like old school German tradition of on the weekends you would go out to the beer garden. You bring the whole family, the kids, wife, everybody goes out, and you hang there as a community. That was it. And the kids run around and do what they do, and you guys hang out and you drink beer, sit at picnic tables, eat have food, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was the tradition. That's like the German beer garden tradition. It's like bars don't do that. You go to a bar and it's adults and that's it. And it's inside, it's dark or whatever. Beer gardens are a way of like bringing out the whole community and letting them all hang out. The kids are there, everybody's there.
Hell yeah.
So all that stuff, like all that's important.
Yeah. Speaking of that, man, like when you want to talk about like the whole community aspect, I think that's, even though I'm not like heavily in the beer space, I think my favorite part of that whole community is the community.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the welcoming nature of the beer community, how they have beer shares and everybody's like, just, I want you to taste this. I want you to taste this. Let's meet at this brewery. And I love that part of it, man. And, you contributed to that space a lot, especially on your vinyl night.
Yeah.
I know you have the beer share on that night and it kind of gets a little out of whack sometimes.
Occasionally.
But it's a very legendary space for sharing your beers, the Wednesday night vinyl night. And I love that part of the beer community. Like I said, I'm more of a cocktail guy, so I'm kind of like removed from this space a little bit. But when I dive into it once in a blue moon, I love that. When I go there and see Ozzy and Sean and all these people, that it's a great experience. We all get to sit there and get the little sippers and we all fucking taste. Somebody's busting out a Troon. Somebody's busting out this. Somebody's busting out that. Somebody's busting out an Autodidact. And we're all just having a good time. And the sense of community is so blissful. It's amazing.
I mean, that's the point of it all.
Right.
And like Ronnie and I remember we were young in our beer days. We would wait in line at Other Half in Brooklyn, Center Street,
right.
Brooklyn, like Carroll Gardens, like not a bad part of Brooklyn, but just kind of like a industrial part of Brooklyn. It was they were like across the street from a junkyard, and like they got a giant. I think it's the BQE goes right over their head. Like it's a not a pretty like it's not a pretty space. It's like they were in an industrial area. And we would wait online there like at 7 a.m. for some of their beers, like early on. And those lines became like massive beer shares because everybody would just show up just like, I got this stuff in Maine the other day. I got this stuff. I was out in California. I got this stuff here. I was up in Washington. I was in Massachusetts, wherever. And you'd be standing in line. It's 7 a.m.
Right.
It's like, 2017, me and my wife, whatever. And you'd get to the front of the line to buy the beer that you came here to get. And you're blasted, dude. You're like, it's over. It's over. Your whole day's shot. And it's like 9:45. You're like,
I know.
Fuck. And not that I want people to be that blasted. I never wish that upon anybody. But like, the fun of that was like the point. It was like, that was the best. And now, we're fortunate enough, this will come out after the fact, of course, but now we have our anniversary, we have a beer that we made with Other Half.
So sick.
Like I stood in your lines and waited for your beer and I missed some of them. Like I missed a collaboration they did. Funny, side anecdote. They were doing a collab with a brewery up in Massachusetts. And my wife and I, dating at the time, boyfriend, girlfriend, we got there late enough that we saw the size of the line. We're like, there's no way we're getting this beer. So we just drove to Massachusetts and went to the other brewery. We're just like, fuck it, we'll just go to there. The spot Trillium up in Massachusetts. So like,
I know Trillium, yeah.
Yeah. So like 8 a.m, line around 3 blocks for Other Half. And we're just like, fuck it. We just drove to Massachusetts and we went there and then drove home later that day. Like, fuck it.
Trillium had the ill line.
Trillium, well, Other Half had the line, but it was a collab with Trillium from Massachusetts.
Yeah, but you got the easier end of the stick.
We just went to Trillium. Trillium didn't have any collabs coming out that day. They were just like, they were hanging out. So we were like, fuck it, let's go there. But
unreal.
Yeah, it was a fun day. was tough to convince her that. I'm like, let's just go up there. She's like, no. I'm like, all right, we're going.
Those are the moments that matter, though, man. Those
All that
little
stuff
moments.
matters, man. That's like a weird thing that you're going to remember forever, right? Like,
Right.
and it's like, if you could facilitate that for somebody else's life, like, could you imagine? Like, that's so cool.
Oh, man.
I'd live for that.
Say,
Yeah, it's the best.
what's in store for the future of Autodidact? Do you have any plans? Anything you want to tease?
So
What's
this is
going
coming
on?
out. This is coming out after the anniversary,
Right.
So we could talk about. We did a collaboration with Ober Creek. We did a double IPA, who are guys we've admired for a long time. Widowmaker is another brewery up in Massachusetts that we've also admired for a long time. We did a West Coast double IPA with them. This Gypsy Brewers, Requiem out of Pennsylvania, which is like a contract brewer, but they literally go around to different breweries and they brew their beer there, and then they brew their beer here, and they brew their, so it's like contract brewing, but like floating around. Kinda. Gypsy Brewers, they're called Requiem. They came through and did a lager with us, and then the last beer, which I'm kind of most excited. Well, I'm excited about all of them, but one of the beers I'm very excited about for the anniversary is we did with Other Half, Twin Elephant, and Oak Flower. Oak Flower was our friend homebrewing when we were like starting to get into the industry, like working on building out our space. Twin Elephant was our friend. They had a brewery in Chatham. They still do. They're the best. And they were like super helpful to us as we got started, let us know what to look for, let us know what to like try and avoid, blah, blah, blah. They were like master sensei kind of vibe. And then Other Half, who was, I'm standing in line for their beers at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
10 years ago. To have all three of those breweries on a single beer working with us is just like, this is it. Like, you're all here. Like,
Wow.
I don't know where else I can go from here. Like, this is it. This is the
Wow.
top. So we did that, and we're excited to have that for this year. Or are excited to have had that, or whatever it is at past tense. Going forward, we want to make more beer. We want to get our beer further out there. We have a lot of, we're lucky enough to have a lot of like wholesale accounts that are, they're short. Like that we need to get them more beer. They're like, can we get another keg a daily? And we're like, we're all out. Sorry.
Wow.
So we're lucky enough to have that going for us, but we feel like that's probably not going to stay forever. They're probably just going to get tired of us if we don't give them beer soon enough. So we got to keep that going. We have that, and then we're working on that space next door. We'd like to build out into that new space, build a concert venue,
Right.
an event hall, and a handful of other things over there.
Wow.
It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, we're always like, what's next? You get to wherever you are. You're like, all right, what's next? And that's
Always forward.
always forward.
Always
Forward.
It's
If you're not
important.
growing, you're shrinking.
That's that military mindset. Always.
just forward. That's it.
Well, look, man, I love you. Thank you for coming here and sharing this with me. Thank you for having a great night with me.
Thank you so much.
I learned so much about beer tonight. This is fire. Can't wait to drop it. Really.
I'm incredibly nervous. This is insane, but I'm
No
so happy
need.
to be here. It's truly an honor to be on this.
Oh, you're the best, dude.
You have a very serious thing going on here.
Thank you, man.
It's wonderful to be involved in it. Also very intimidating, and I'm
No way, dude.
I'm delighted
no
that you
way.
asked me to be on.
This is fucking, dude. I'm humbled to have you on.
Thank you so much.
It's humbling to have you here with me.
Please, it's not.
No, I love you, brother. I can't wait to share this with the world.
Thank you.
Really.
Man.
It's going to be fucking fire.
Cheers. dude.
Love you. Thank you for coming, bro.
Thank you.
All right.